of the agenda, and we have one thing we'd like to add, an executive session at the end under South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, number 3. You want me to read that? Consulting with legal counsel or reviewing communications from legal counsel about proposed or pending litigation or contractual matters. Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll consider that approving the agenda. Consent agenda items. Is there anything in the consent agenda that you wish to have pulled out or discussed? Anything? Hearing none, I'll consider the consent agenda approved by consent. All right, routine business. Approval of claims. Is there a motion? Okay, Pierce, Krogman. Any discussion or questions on any of the claims?
Also, in front of you this morning, I handed out a claim for the Department of Revenue bill, so that will also be approved and go out. That was sitting in front of you this morning on your desks.
Okay. Anything else? Hearing none, call the roll, Stacy.
Krogman?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Pierce? Aye. Wyseth?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, department head reports, and we'll start with Robert. He's listed county development, and he's got a fair amount.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have submitted a part 1 of my staff report to you, and I won't go over all that. That's only 15 items. So I'll start with part 2 that only has 10 more. The regional homes, Brookings, did you have any questions on the written stuff that I gave? Okay. The first up, Brookings Regional Home Show scheduled for February 21, 22 of this year, and the Sheriff's Department and my department, Emergency Management Department, are having a booth there, and Local Emergency Planning Committee funds is actually funding the booth for us this year. On February 25th, the Region 6 guys coming up to have a visit with us, and then our state and local agreement requires me to go out to each of the communities, and I did go to Aurora last night and Elkton, and I've got Sinai scheduled for March 2nd, 2015. That would have been the last one after I do Volga next week and Brookings tonight. We conducted a security test on this building, and we're working on any deficiencies that may have been found. We had a 911 meeting. Moody County drainage ordinance. Under drainage ordinance discussion, I did get copies of everything from Moody County, and I put it in a packet. And I guess what we're looking for here now would be, which direction would you like us to move on that?
Well, commissioners, this is a big topic here, Bob, so it's early in the meeting for this.
Well, I'm not even started yet. We're taking it slowly.
No, on the drainage, yeah.
Yeah. I guess, so what's your question? What do you want, you said, where do you want us to go with the drainage?
Yeah, I mean, do you want us to adopt the drainage ordinance? Is that the goal that you want, or do we want to wait for wait till at least the legislative sessions out to figure out what they vote on?
Well, my thought is I think we need to have a larger discussion than that rather than just say, let's go ahead or let's do this, because, I mean, I'd like to research a little bit more on the Moody County drainage, and I'd like to research previous drainage ordinances we've had in the past, and I'd like to also hear where the state's coming and if that's going to make it or there. So I think that warrants a bigger discussion from everybody than just where do we go here right now type of thing. So
Okay?
Just my 2 cents on it and stuff like that, I guess. I'd rather put it as a, we're going to be rolling out a strategic plan here eventually that's going to identify some of that stuff, and I'd like to try to make it as an agenda item, discussion of future drainage there, and let everybody know that we're going to be discussing it, which would give everybody the opportunity to come in and get their 2 cents on how we move forward. So that's mine, I guess.
Not to be confused with our south drainage.
Correct, this
Yeah,
is totally,
that's- yeah.
this is a totally different topic.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if it would be worthwhile, and I know we talked a little bit about this with our strategic plan, and it's going to be on our strategic plan, if we should consider, I hate this, but having a subcommittee to come back and make recommendations to the board as a whole to look into what our options are. And maybe that'd be 2 commissioners and Mr. Hill exploring that, coming up with some ways we can move forward, maybe putting together the research that Ryan's talking about. That'd be one way instead of all 5 of us doing everything, but I don't know what the commission's feeling is.
Go ahead. Larry? Yours.
Bob, do you know other counties besides Moody that do have drainage ordinance in, just Cottington?
I would have to, we've got a 2-inch drainage folder downstairs. I didn't bring up the
Okay.
whole drainage folder. It was mentioned at the last county commission meeting, we hadn't done anything, period, so we wanted to at least get off center.
And it's great to have an example to look at, just I thought maybe if we can have 2 examples to look at.
Well, oh, by all means, I can get you more examples. Moody County is one of the last ones in this region to have them.
Okay.
Most of them, we withdrew them because everything was going. And even Moody County is not perfect. I mean, their county commission's the drainage board, and if they don't get that downstream landowner signature, they're right back in the mix of things. And in today's world, most people is not signing off on those. It's being found out now. So
Leanne, or Stephanie, do you have something? Leanne, I think most of the time that's a good idea. But in this case, if I wasn't on that subcommittee, I would miss out on a tremendous education. And I think I really need to be educated. And I know some wish to stay away from work sessions, but I was wondering if in March, Robert, if you'd be willing to gather information, get it out to us ahead of time, and maybe sit through, and it wouldn't be any action. It just be no action be taken. We'd have a little you give us a little education on what we had for a drainage plan before, some alternatives. By then, we would know what the state is probably not going to do, but we'd have that behind us, and from that education process, then maybe we could schedule later for whatever action anybody wanted to take. Is that fine with the commission? So maybe the first meeting in March, you could prepare us a little educational seminar on drainage choices.
you want that in the
plans.
county commission meeting, or you want that in your
It'd
scheduled
be a
work
work session right outside following
following the regular
regular meeting, and if that's okay? Okay, that was a big question.
Okay.
First thing in the chute here.
And
Okay.
next, on the drainage south of town, I requested the Banners Associated, look at the old plan, it is, give us a fee, what it would cost to update the 1985 plan, which Banners did assemble back then. What would it do to match today's figures or do the calculations? And they sent us a document that I put on everyone's desk this morning. And if you turn over on the back side where it says example, don't start hyperventilating at the low cost. That's just an example of what the result would look like. Those numbers have nothing to do with what we got south of town. And but the fee for them, and of course I could go to different surveying or different engineering firms and get quotes also. The reason I went to Banner exclusively in this case, they wrote the initial plan, so I would assume that they would have all the initial. But whatever the board desires, if you want me to go to another firm to look for a quote, also I'm more than happy to, or just to wait until it might pay us just to wait till after we do have a meeting coming up on drainage. The 17th, yep, I didn't write. Of all the things I didn't write down, that's one I did not write down. But February 17th, we are meeting on this particular.
Okay, that was something I was going to let the commission be aware of, that when we communicated with the city, their feeling was that we were going to set the next meeting, and Stacy went through the trouble of coordinating everybody's schedule.
We got as many people on board as we could from the initial group, and February 17th, starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, just in the conference room in our suite up or by Michelle as well. We'll meet. I think we're still waiting on a few that we left voicemails for yesterday, but just about got everybody back on board for that date.
And following my railroading Leanne Pierce into being Larry's partner, we had a visit, and she felt that she had just wanted to focus a little more on planning and zoning. I don't want to speak for you. And I was wondering if anybody else wishes to serve with Larry, or I would step up to that, because you all have a pretty busy agenda. But if I sure wouldn't want to take away anybody's opportunity to be involved with that. Okay, go ahead. Stephanie?
That's fine. If you can't, let me know and I'll join.
Okay, thank you. And so, Larry, I'm your partner, but you take the lead on this. And Stacy, you make your communications with Larry, and is that okay? Okay.
So I think we'll just wait till after the meeting.
Yeah,
on
I
the
would
17th.
say before we spend $3,500, let's see how the meeting goes. Is that all right with everybody?
Okay.
Okay, but thanks for getting that. That's a good start.
Yeah, I just don't want stuff to sit around every now and then, and it sits on my desk and mold.
Okay.
Next up is another handout that I gave to you. It's called my LEPC funding issue handout. And the Local Emergency Planning Committee is a committee that actually Brookings County had something to do with back in 1984, 85, when there was a Superfund fire over by the bypass. We used to have a biochemical company in Brookings that burned down, and it started what's known as the Superfund thing through the Environmental Protection Agency and everything. And what it's gotten down to now at the state level, we get so much money per formula per year to spend on hazardous materials, education materials, and things like that. And I was not aware that they gave us the money up front. So what you've got is a list in front of you of money that we've gotten from 2005 to 2014. There's 2 years we didn't request any money because we had so much money sitting there. And when I contacted DENR this year and requested, well, how do I go about getting this money? They said, well, we've given it to you every year for the last 10 years. So what I did is I sat down and figured out how much money we got. It looks like we received $26,188.41 in the last approximately 10-year period. And of that, we've spent $14,778.04. And DENR is requesting that we show them where we spent the additional $11,410.37. And so what I came to the board with is, right now, as of this year, we did receive our 2015 grant, which is $3,030.80. I'm requesting that be put into my 226-4-222- 4291 LEPC line. And if you add that to my existing line, that would give us $5,000 to spend. And I need to spend an additional $6,000 that will more than likely have to come out of contingency because it's not budgeted for this year by the end of the year. On the back side of that page shows the dollar amounts that the second page came from Department of Environment and Natural Resources. And what we propose to spend the money on is hazardous material supplies and promotional items for like the Local Emergency Planning Committee, Brookings, for things like the home show and National Preparedness Day and
Commissioners, any question? I had several. Bob gave me the opportunity to have this explained to me, and it took about a half hour to get through my thick skull what he was talking about. But basically, let me try, since then I get a better understanding. The state was sending money, and we weren't spending it all, and that was going back into our general fund, and they're now questioning this. And so what we're trying to get back with this action is to be more in compliance with the state dollars that are coming and applying it not to whatever we've been applying it to this actual emergency plan.
and I'm not talking about spending money just to spend money because it's given to us. You know, I in the military, every October, you spend all your budget down to zero, so 1 October, you got a whole bunch more money coming, otherwise you lose money. That's not the situation here. We've got a need for hazardous materials. We go out to a truck accident and there's diesel spilling out of a truck. Our fire departments have been putting booms up. I'm not talking about me spending this money and keeping it in my office. You know, I would have a spill kit in my county truck, because I do go out sometimes when there is no fire departments there. But majority of what I'm requesting to be spent will be put out through the fire departments in the county.
Yeah, thank you.
I feel there's a need for it, personally.
And any other questions for Bob? And then what would be required here? Some sort of action?
Well, from what I understand, I will have to come back with, if you agree to what I'm suggesting, I would come back at the next meeting with a supplement. We would supplement the $3,030.80 into my line, my LEPC line. And then closer to the end, then if you say I can spend the money, then I would go ahead and at the end of the year, my budget may be able to absorb $6,000, but emergency management won't be able to. And then if my budget's over at the end of the year, we would supplement it out of the contingency funds at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying before you get the $3,030, which was supposed to be awarded for 2015, that you need to spend down $11,410.
Yes, sir.
And so what's in the line item now is 2,000. So adding that to what we're going to get, you'll have 5,000, and you'd want to take the difference between 11,410 and the 5,030 out of your budget or our general fund to get that 11,410.37 into that line item.
Yes, sir.
So where it gets just designated for this. But that doesn't mean you have to spend it all this year, right?
Well, not the 3,000, but I do have to spend the 11,000. If you notice, the 11,000 date is as of 2013.
Right. But if you look at the expenditures all the way down from 2005, they didn't require you to spend everything.
No, but
every year.
That's the problem.
that's the problem.
Yeah, okay, that's the problem
So
started.
they want you to spend everything every year
Correct. Otherwise, they don't want us to apply for the grant.
because they kept giving us money even though we weren't spending it.
And
Not on this. We were putting
Yeah.
it into our general fund and
Yeah.
spending it on,
Right. Okay. They obviously weren't keep track of it as much as they are now.
right, and now it's just going to be a time thing where it needs to be tracked, and we got so much. If we request a grant, and if you notice on 2014, I did not request a grant because I knew I had so much money sitting there, and apparently my predecessor in 2010 did the same thing, didn't apply for money. There's a need for it. Why we haven't been using it, I don't know. I can't I can't speak for anything before 2013, and since 2013, it's on me.
any more questions? Boy, Ryan, you grabbed a hold of it way faster than I did when you first explained it to me.
So are they going to give us the 3,000 even though we have extra funds?
I've got the check, it's already in our general fund, waiting to
Okay.
be supplemented into my budget, sir.
Got the check, even though we had extra money, they still gave it to us. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But they probably won't next year type of thing.
That is,
Bob, you would distribute this throughout the county to the different fire departments, is
What
correct?
what my plan is, at the end of the month, we've got a meeting with the county fire departments. They got a county fire department association.
Yep.
And we'll figure out what the needs are for it has to be strictly hazardous materials, booms and stuff like that. It can't be equipment and
Yep.
stuff. We'll figure it out and we'll divvy it up on which fire departments use the most of it, you know. It may end up whereas a city of Brookings gets more because they use more. Volga may not need none because they got their soybean plant. They might have a trailer full of it. We don't know, but you know, we're gonna shift it around fairly in the county. And the hazmat buckets are not cheap by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay, I think what we'd like is to have you come back to the next meeting and work with Stacy on an action item. And if anybody, the commissioners have any questions, I'm sure you're free to explain them beforehand, and we can have that final discussion at that time we take action. Yeah, Leanne?
When you come back, if
Yes,
you
ma'am.
could give us something that says what exactly the grant funds, I'd like to see that. What
Well-
kinds of materials specifically were allowed?
And if you need, the State Emergency Response Commission chairperson is in my local emergency planning committee, if you need to talk to people one-on-one also. I will do that.
It's always best to be careful what you ask Bob for, because sometimes he overwhelms you with. But
And
Robert?
moving right along, March 12th, which is just about a month now, 2015, we do have our exercise coming up. It is going to be at the East Fire Station. It's going to go from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. We are going to heavily use this local emergency planning funds to help pay for that exercise. And it's getting to be quite well. We expect between 30 and 50 people to attend the exercise, and of course, any commissioner is welcome to come to it. And as now it's going to start going, more of my time will be dedicated strictly to this particular exercise so we can get it done right. We do have people coming in from the Federal Emergency Management Agency National Exercise Planning Group. They're going to be our facilitators and our evaluators for this particular case. So, and that's all I got. Any questions?
okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Robert. Let's see, 8:53. Michael?
Good morning. As you've probably seen, there is not a written welfare report for claims. Irene was out for a week's vacation, and like all good travelers, she brought back a really good virus that kept her out another week. So the next one is probably going to be a little bigger report, and we have been getting some letters back from the Abbey and getting a few of the older claims cleaned up. And kind of looking forward to that, getting those off the books and helping our bottom line look a little better on the welfare side. As far as with everything going on, the number of people coming into our office is down. The veterans are down to 24 walk-ins, 11 on the welfare side. I had 55 calls in and 68 out. So it's not quite half of what it would have been. I was out a couple days for doctor's appointments and stuff. So anyway, that's kind of rundown. I thought today I would just talk a little bit about the RAV, which is Reach All Veterans, Secretary Zimmerman's push to contact all the veterans in each of the counties by having the veteran service officers call them. The first stage of it wrapped up on December 31st. I was able to make all of our calls for the veterans on a list that I got from the state that came off of different sources, whether it be the veterans bonus forms, their computer system, or general contacts. What our office has been doing is putting all of, whenever a veteran comes in and whenever we see their DD-214, which is their release from active duty, we automatically put that into what's called VetRespect, which is a computer program that the state is currently using, so that we can help track them that way and know who all is there and stuff. And I think that's been going along fairly well. If we do find someone that's come in, from the RAV reports or whatever that is eligible for a benefit, then we go ahead at that time and process the benefit that may be eligible for. And I'll probably go a little more in service connection and stuff next time. Any questions? There's a second round planned. It's going to be starting. It was actually, I believe they did address that a little bit in the governor's State of the State speech. The next part of it, or address, whatever they call those. Anyway, the next part of it is going to probably do a little more with the state and some with us. And the last I heard, it's going to be kind of a mass mailing to the last known address. As you're aware, in the city of Brookings, if you use the SwiftTel for your internet, you automatically get a phone number. And if it's like my landlord, we've never actually had a landline in the house, but we do have a phone number that's published. And when you go to call those numbers, no one will ever answer it because Lee doesn't own a phone. He does everything by cell phone. So what we're going to do then is go in and use those addresses to do a mass mailing to see if we can't pick up a few other ones. And probably the city of Brookings is probably the one that's going to be mostly affected with that.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Mike. Vicki, is that okay if I save you for last? Because, yeah, and then Beverly, you got a report later. Do you have anything right now? Yeah. And we got about 2 minutes to, and I imagine Dick doesn't have. Sheriff, do you have a 2-minute report? Otherwise, you can start it and we'll, okay? You don't have to keep it to 2. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Morning. I'll just give you a quick update on the jail. 27 inmates at the present time. PBTs are down. I only have 20 on PBT. So I don't know if that's a good sign or what. But the less people that come into jail, you think less people are drinking and getting into trouble. I have 21 on Scram in county and 5 out of county with Scram. Kudos to the highway department. We have, as of 20 minutes ago, we have not had any accidents in Brookings County. So considering the roads, my driveway was slipperier than, if that's a word, slipperier, than Highway 77. And there was, looked like it sanded the whole work. So I think that really helped. The only other thing is we're following, the Sheriff's Association and myself are following some bills at the state with concealed weapons. They're trying to, there's a movement to allow concealed weapons on campuses again, and there's a movement to just get rid of concealed weapon permits, and we're following. Of course, the Sheriff's Association is opposing most of the changes with the concealed weapons, so we're following that. The only other thing is that we've been, the State's Attorney's Office, Abby and my office has been busy with emergency committals, and I know Abby may mention something later, but she's called a meeting. You think as many as we have, each committal would be easy. It's not. I think each one is I don't think any two are the same, are they, Abby? We get too many variables in there, different doctors and this and that and not agreeing, and it's time to try to get everybody on the same level here. So lots of little issues that cause problems. Anyway, that's all I got.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any
Way to go,
questions?
2
We're
minutes.
not. Don't let them get away. Okay. No questions. Well, of course, that clock isn't 9, but it is 9, and we have a public hearing. But I do not believe Sherry Oswald is here. And then you're waiting for your partner at 9:15, aren't you, John? Oh, would there be any objection to moving our 9:15 to 9 o'clock? Is that legal to do a public hearing at a different time?
It's not a public hearing.
Oh, what do we have this down? Oh, scheduled
just
times,
discussion.
yes. That we can do whatever we want. I bet we'd like to hear from you and you can get on with your work.
Good morning. I'm Joni Froelich. I'm with the Brookings Chambers. I'm the Director of Membership there. Sure. I'm Joni Froelich with the Brookings Chambers office. I'm the Director of Membership there. The reason that I'm here today is that for your guys' membership is a January renewal. Our new membership levels is something that we're doing new at the chamber, kind of starting last fall. Where Brookings County was last year was about 875, I think, was what your membership was last year. That puts you kind of in the investor category if you're looking to be at about that same level. The difference from last year to this year, you would still be listed on the website, listed in our community guide here. You can see the additional benefits that go with the membership now that weren't there in the past. So all of the bullet points under investor benefits that you would be having this year that you haven't had in the past, and then all of the partner benefits and the connected benefits as well. Yes, I believe you guys have seen this before. Do you have any questions on any of these benefits or what's listed under any of them?
Questions? Discussion? While she's here, the discussion leads to a question. So which one were you suggesting again as far as the...
If you're looking for same cost-wise, the investor is the closest to what you were doing. As you go up, the difference would be, if you look at the executive level, would be just a higher sponsorship, which for us, our higher sponsors help us do our programming and helping support the businesses that need the services of the chamber, as well as the tickets to different events that are listed on the bottom, the golf outing, Team of Four, if you guys are interested in that.
So previously, we were based on the number of employees.
Yeah, in the past, how the chamber worked is we would pretty much give any member what they would be paying, and it was based on hotels, on rooms, and restaurants on their tables, and full-time, part-time, things like that. And that's how the chambers ran up until end of last year, and that's how a lot of chambers are run. This new membership level, Brookings is kind of on the forward side of doing this. We're probably on, just the beginning of some towns that are starting to do it this way. The benefits are that businesses can pick whichever level is going to be most beneficial to them. So instead of us telling them what they need to pay, they can pick what's easiest for them and most beneficial.
And so previously, with the amount of employees we had, the investor number was what we were similar at what we paid for, and
Pretty close.
that we
Yep,
were required to.
Yep, 874 was a number that we've given you in the past for your membership. And also then companies who had a higher membership level were getting all the same benefits as people who were at the $70 membership. So now there's just more benefits to the higher level.
Yep, got it. Okay. All right, do we have any other questions? Lori? All right, well, thank you for stopping in.
Yes.
And, you got a couple
Okay.
questions? Well, you can't leave and then have questions.
And we have had some of the commissioners do individual memberships as well, which is the professional license. So if your company is a member of the chamber, I use a realting company, for example. If they're a member of the chamber, each one of their realtors can be at a $100 membership and have their own listing in the book and their own listing on the website. So as just an additional way for advertising for them and then sponsorship for us.
The questions that come to mind is down below there is we get 2 dinner tickets. Now, we would have to, of course, come up with a way of distributing those. So this is something to think about. And of course, I don't know if the ads or banner ads are a big deal to us. And then how many employees get emails from as many of our employees?
Yep,
From
right now
you?
we have 17 staff members from here, including yourselves all on the board here, and then just different staff members throughout your building. And we can keep that updated throughout the year and add people and take them away as needed.
So around 17 would be the number, approximately what we would have.
That's what you have now, but we can add more.
Well, we got a lot of employees, so if they all came to your first mixer, it would be a lot of people. So, I mean, we need to have some appropriate number to work with for you, you know, your members, your benefit and ours. And then also with, like David Owen legislative update, the 2 meetings they have there, we have in the past for the 17 received the chamber discount for that luncheon versus a non-member.
Yep.
Yeah, would that still be at 17 or what would that be?
17 isn't a magic number. That's just how many people receive chamber emails.
Yeah.
We could sign everybody up to
Well,
receive
that's why
chamber emails.
I'm trying to get that cleared up so that we don't, as far as our staff
my understanding is
goes.
every county employee is now a chamber member.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, well, and then how far do you want to go with it? I mean, we got to be fair to them. Like I say, if we had every employee getting your, let's say a mixer, that's a lot of people that would potentially come to one of those mixers, which sometimes only accommodate, I don't know, 100?
Yep.
Yeah, and that wouldn't be fair to the person hosting it and your organization. So I'm just trying to get all the little bugs cleared out before something comes up. Are we good?
I don't think that has been a problem in the past. And so I don't foresee it being a problem in the future.
Only if we decide to let other people, let's say one of our employees came to ask Vicki, I would like to go to that legislative thing. So then another one. I mean, not saying it happens, but, you know, where do we cut off? Which employees?
For a lot of things, though, we have to RSVP ahead of time, so they
Yeah.
have a head count. So they would know that from us ahead of time for the luncheons and
The
things
luncheons
of that
are,
nature.
mixers aren't.
The mixers aren't,
Yeah.
but
So I just, you know, if we have, I just want to clear up any potential devil in the details, unintended consequences of us doing this. And we'll take it from there and probably put it in as an action item for the next, we don't have
I guess
any-
we're just looking for what level you want the county to participate at so we can submit the claim to the chamber. And that's why I think when we were looking at it a couple of weeks ago, you had some questions.
Oh, and approve
And
the
so
claim?
that's why we had invited Joni to come and
Sure.
talk to you to see, you know, answer some of the questions that you had about the different levels and what each one meant for the county. And so I guess we're kind of,
questioning whether or not everybody in the county is a member of the chamber. She has answered that question for us.
Yep.
Yep. I just, you know, try to clear
So I guess
up
we're
who's
just-
going to get the 2 annual meeting tickets and those kind of things. Just get them cleared
That's
up before
never
we
been
jump in.
that has never been an issue.
And as
I don't
far
think
as,
we ever got 2 annual meeting tickets, did we?
well, I think you
Because I've
got
been a
them.
chamber member since I moved to this town, so I get the stuff and do my thing.
Absolutely. That's a lot of what's changed with our levels is there's more benefits to them. In the past, no matter who was a chamber member, you got listed on the website and you got listed in our community guide. And now there's more benefits that go along with that. So last week with it being our first year, we want to be fair to everyone who has been giving to the chamber. So we just kind of guessed an area that maybe people would be at that have been contributing to us and sent them the tickets on that idea. So you guys should have got 2 of them last week. And then as far as the rest of the tickets that come up, we just send them here and you guys get to decide who gets to use them.
Well, for myself, I'll continue to be a member, which
Thank
is
you.
just a retired, $100. I think you raised it, doggone
We
it.
did raise it,
Yeah,
yes.
and then I'll pay my $40 or whatever for the. your
Better
game.
programming for the price.
Yeah. But, okay, Leanne.
The county isn't the only employer that has a lot of people.
Correct.
Do you have a feel for how other large employers handle, because if the employer is a member, then all their employees are members, right?
Correct.
How typically is that done?
For the bigger companies that are members of the chamber, now that when we're renewing them to their membership level, I'll have one contact with the company and just send them the list of everyone that we have a contact for. They update it, let me know if someone's there, not there. They maybe will take the head of each department and put them in our system so they get the emails, and then that person will forward them on.
So it would be appropriate for us to ask our employees who would like to receive emails from the chamber.
Yep.
And we could just ask our people, and if they want to be on the email list, Stacy can update that list, and people
Yep.
will get that information. And I've never been in a mixer where I thought that it was a problem because too many people from a large employer in town was there. I don't think that'll be a problem. So,
Right.
and we can do a
Yep.
raffle on the tickets.
And what comes through the emails is updates on usually Tuesday mornings, updates from the chamber as far as things we have going on in the next week, legislative forum, things like that that are coming up. And then different companies at the investor level on up have email blasts that they can use, which is a way for them to advertise maybe a special they have at their company or an anniversary or something they have going on. They give us that information and we send it out to all of the email addresses that we have.
And I too am a email member myself, or a chamber member myself, and I think in those emails, there's information our employees would like to have, the ones that kind of watch what's going on in the community and maybe want to go to different events, and I think we should just ask them who would like to get the emails.
And as far as the 2 tickets being a problem, if any of us want to go to the annual meeting, we only have to tell Stacy to RSVP for us, and
Well,
we've got-
I'm just saying when private industry gets a gift, and if it's, they can do what they want, but most companies have a system, prevent kickbacks from the purchasers. I
Yeah.
mean, they have a system to distribute. When it comes to government, and this is down Abbey, us getting gifts and bestowing those gifts upon commissioners gets into a kind of a gray area, as far as us accepting things. So we will have to research what to do with those 2 tickets legally.
Yep, we've had that come up actually last week as well, a company that couldn't use the benefits that they were paying for it because it was thought of as a gift like that. We just say that it's part of your membership, it's something you've already paid for, but if it's something you can or can't use, we can
So I
work
think
with that.
we'll do a
we've
little
actually
research on,
paid for it.
yeah, so we can do a little research on
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
and,
but we
and
don't-
fi-
I think we've paid for them.
And that brings up my question again a little bit when you brought up private sector and government sector.
yes.
Certainly want to be a part of the chamber, but should we be paying for benefits that we're not going to be using? And that's what concerns me a little bit here. I understand exactly why you're going this direction, is that somebody paying 70 should get the same benefits as somebody paying $3,000. And that's why you're going here. But I also looking good stewards of the money here, saying, I want to be a part of the chamber and have our name on there, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to use the executive level stuff, the premier level, even the investor level things. We may not even be able to use those. So my question would be, should we be paying for those? Should we be looking at a different level rather than the 900, something that would allow emails to get out, everybody gets an invitation, but we're not getting the 2 annual tickets because we can't use them. We're not getting a golf team for 4. And I guess that's where my thought is some people here will up there. I'm going to look at my personal business and I might up it because I could use some of that stuff. But I'm guessing there'll be somebody that will drop down. And because before it was a requirement with a number of employees.
Right.
They still want to be part of it. So you're going to have them go up and you're going to have some go down. I'm looking at it as good stewards of government money there. If we're not using those things and can't use them, should we be paying for them?
I agree, and I think in fairness with the chamber, maybe next year, they'll have a government
I
relation.
think that would be a real good idea.
Yeah, and because we're different than private industry,
Yep.
and trust me, a notary services, I don't have to go more than 15 feet in this building and get one. So, I mean, it's a lot of that and same with city or other government agencies, we just operate in a different world, and
Sure.
gifting and things like that, and the question would, I guess, that Stacy's looking for is what level.
So I have another question. Not having been on the commission last year, The Think Local, the expo out at Swiftel, did the county have a table for that, where we set up out there?
No.
In the investor category, that's one of the options. What does that table cost if you're not at the investor level, do you know?
You know, I do know. If you would go at a lower membership and add on the different costs for things, that table, $200.
And I don't know, Ryan, if you were thinking maybe we could back down to the partner, but I will say that I do think we should have a table at that expo. That is a very nice event, and the kinds of information that we were talking about in our strategic planning to get out to county residents about what county government is doing, that'd be a great place to do it. There's a huge turnout.
Yep, it's been a good program.
Yeah, and it is a nice event, and I would like to see us participate in that, and the investor category gives us a free table, right?
Mhm.
I'm reading that right?
Well, and I might be on the wrong side of this, but I want to get started on the connected, so we're there. I didn't think we hadn't used the local, and if we want to, that's great. Maybe we could add on to it, but, even in the partner, we don't need the mailing labels. There's just a lot of things I'm not sure we're utilizing for what we're paying for. And before we were required because of a number of employees, and that was fine. I want to be a part of it, and I'm going to be a part of it in my private business too. Nothing bad about that, but I think if we're not using the benefits that we're talking about, then I don't think it's wise to be investing in them. So I'm looking at the connected level.
I'm with Leanne at the investor level.
Investor or partner?
Investor.
Well, I didn't know Leanne was an investor.
I was just wondering, is there potential that we would be using some of these other benefits? Stacy, that is there in the investor level?
While she's looking at that, I'll just throw something out for Ryan. Maybe we shouldn't be looking at the benefits. We should look at what it's worth. And what, dollar amount. Maybe we just want to give them $875 and we only get to be a partner, but we just give them more. I mean, I'm just saying, what is it worth for us to belong? Not in
I think-
benefits, but
I understand what you're saying, and I think as part of these communities, we need to be a member of the chamber. And I think that in light of the fact that we've been paying the $875 and they've revamped how they're doing this, I think that it's important for us to stay at or near that level. And to me, we get a benefit from being a chamber member, and I think as a governmental entity for the whole of Brookings County, it's important to us to stay at that level. And whether or not we use what's there, I mean, it's our option to do that. If we choose not to do it, then we're missing out.
I just realized Stacy takes the minutes. She was going to look up, thinking about the answering Larry, and then I started talking, so she had to go back to minutes. So
We all
I
need to be
I
quiet.
forget that she's doing double duty. Do
Quick typing.
you remember Larry's question?
I think if get a better understanding of what things are. Yeah, like Stephanie said, if we know about them, then we would know that we could use them, but we haven't in the past. So,
And that's our fault.
The other county, or the other towns that are in Brookings County, do they all each have a chamber? And are we members of those chambers, or is Brookings the only town that has a chamber?
I would guess
I would guess
Elkton's
it-
got one.
Probably Brookings, because we're Brookings area Chamber of Commerce. So I don't know how far that area extends to, but I would guess we were probably the only. And something that we've, this has come up with every company and every organization I sit in front of, is the difference between their old memberships. And we do just like to let everyone know too, we are funded just from our memberships. The chamber is our memberships and then our annual golf meeting. So with that, we do ask people to, just think about how you want to support the chamber, and we can do our programming, we can support the other businesses in the town and just keep Brookings growing and thriving and doing well.
Okay.
And you don't have to give me an answer today. If you guys need to talk about
I'm
it, you
just
sure
saying,
can.
I'm a little confused that we're just looking for a consensus versus a motion. I mean,
The action will pay when you pay the claim.
yes, and what if we pull that claim out? Then we're going to have a discussion at that time? Then why?
I-
Pull that claim at the last meeting.
We haven't even submitted the claim because I was looking for direction from you folks on at what level you want to buy into the membership of the chamber. So if I get at a
About 3 out of 5?
consensus,
Is
a
that- yeah.
consensus on where you want to be, then I will submit the claim. It can always be pulled at that time as well, but if I get a general direction, then I can at least get a claim submitted.
Thank you for the explanation.
I'm at investor level because I think we should be supporting the chamber.
Stephanie, Larry?
If we chose an investor level, I think we need to make sure we utilize what's there.
You're fine. Okay, there we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But can you tell us if we wanted to participate in the showcase, to Think Local next year? Do you know what, when the planning period is, when you have to notify the chamber of that? Do you have any information on that?
I would just guess that if the event is in October, we probably start planning the end of summer as far as just contacting people and things like that. And part of my role as a director of membership, which is new with the chamber with these levels, is I will be contacting everybody who has a benefit. If you have tickets coming up, if you are part of it that has the table, contacting you ahead of time to let you know that that's coming up to kind of keep it top of mind.
Stacy, is that possible for you to kind of keep on your list so that we think about it in the summer and decide if we want to participate, because it would take some planning? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sherry Oswald is here, and with your permission, we'll let them come up, okay? And your guests, just say your name, and because this is on television, I guess, and so introduce yourselves, and we'll get to your question.
I'm Sherry Oswald, and I'm a member of the Farmers Market Board.
I'm Bill Ross. I'm a member of the board and also a producer at the Farmers Market.
So we just wanted to really plant a seed, to steal a little bit from Farmers Market, yeah. The idea of using the courthouse lawn on special occasions to have a farmers market, and I used to live in Wisconsin, and I would always go to the farmers market in Madison, Wisconsin, which is around the Capitol Square. And this is kind of a replication, the idea is a replication of that venue for a farmers market. It had, there were thousands and thousands of people. It was a major city. But I think that it would be, if we were able to do something like that, we would be able to attract a whole different segment of our community to participate in farmers market. Of course, we all know the benefits of the farmers market utilizing the fresh produce that the farmers have, but in addition, some entertainment, more entertainment can be applied. We also see the synergy between, and we have not talked with, but the synergy between the Children's Museum, the Brookings Arts Council, the Brookings Activity Center, and the library, which are also right down here on a Saturday morning. We see that there wouldn't be a lot of obstruction to traffic on a Saturday versus Wednesdays would not be, we wouldn't even be asking for that time. But we basically wanted to plant that seed and get some feedback to see if that's something that we would be able to pursue as an endeavor maybe one time this year.
Commissioners.
The group that you're with, are you the same group that does the farmer's market now over in the parking lot at
The City Plaza.
City Plaza?
We're just brainstorming a lot of options as we're looking to kind of revitalize the farmer's market area, and looking at all the options in the Central Brookings district.
And then there's one Saturday where the farmer's market closes because of, the City Plaza is a parking space for the arts in the park. And so that might be a time to experiment and see if we could draw more people back down to this, this area after they've had a chance to be at the Art in the Park. Or it's not called Art in the Park.
For those of us that live close to Pioneer Park, which I do, we're familiar with the damage to the park that the Arts Festival causes, and everybody fixes that. I mean, that's just part of the process. But there is significant damage done to the grass during these kinds of events. How would you see that being handled if we were doing farmers market on the courthouse lawn?
First of all, we're, we operate for 3 hours, so it's quite minimal, but I would see that the farmer's market would have the responsibility of doing the cleanup following the event, as all of the vendors would get together and their final sweep would be to do cleanup.
Rain is the big issue.
Sure, yeah.
I think parking also is an issue. There just isn't much parking at the courthouse at all, on either side. I think you would find that to probably be one of your biggest problems.
Even on a Saturday?
Mm-hmm. There just isn't much parking there.
East side is used a lot by, even on Saturday, probably, is that visitation day? The sheriff's department or guests on Saturday, as far as the east side lot. Marty? It varies.
We were looking mostly on the west side.
Yeah,
There'd be
I figured
parking.
that, but I was just thinking east side's tied up. And there is a little bit of a parking area that we paved here recently, but there is a limited.
Very limited.
But if you're looking at the numbers that you get at City Plaza, I don't think parking would be a problem. I mean, I do think when you look at that, it's for me, it's the issue of the grass when it rains. How do you get that back? And good. I like the idea. I've been at farmers markets in locations like you're talking about, and it is a wonderful experience.
One of our considerations or challenges, I guess, is the sitting on the hot pavement for a farmer's market. There's no shade there, and we were looking for grass and lawns with shade just to create that atmosphere where people could hang out more and just make it a positive experience to come to a farmer's market.
Well, I guess being a lawn nut and former park board member, yes. When I first saw that you were coming, the lawn, and we've got some people that mow the lawn. And as far as restoration, we don't have the expertise and that the park department and effort and equipment to bring back something that's been used. But you're only talking once or twice, or in only 3 hours. But yeah, if it's the ground, it rained all night, which is possible, and then people come in there, the compaction and all that. So I kind of understand where you come from. That it's nice. I was toying. I don't know what it's like out in this park. You don't want a parking lot, but I was wondering what this parking lot is like on a Saturday. See, I'm not worried about a parking lot getting trampled, but you're not getting the ambiance, and it puts you kind of in the area that you want to be. But just I'm worried about we don't have the equipment or the expertise to bring a yard back.
Well, I'm not sure if this is going to open up a can of worms for everybody else, is what my concern is. And that's, do we let you, and then the next person wants to come and hold a graduation reception there, and then wants to hold this, and, there's just a lot of, I want to get married on the And it's like, okay, do we open this up and now every weekend we have somebody wanting to use it? I think, my thing is, I think we need to leave it as is, not open up that can of worms, because I'm afraid we'd lose control. And now, every week we have an agenda item, who wants to use it? Because one, it could be free, and that kind of stuff, and I don't want to, it's just, I think it would open up a can of worms there that we would not be able to get closed. And so, great idea, I think. I love the farmer's market. It's a neat deal. It's a good idea, but I'm just not sure this is the place that I would have it there, just for the fact of how we can control it down the road.
One option that just comes to mind, besides using our parking lot, and I really support the idea that county government should be supporting local grown food. I mean, it's our citizens. It's just not a Brookings town thing. This is involves the whole county. Would be not to dump it on another form of government, but closing that street right there, and maybe that's the street in front to the west, having that closed. But then that would interfere with maybe getting to the Children's Museum, et cetera. But it would bring that activity that you're talking about. I assume at the Madison State Capitol, are they on the yard, or are they out around in the area that?
The vendors are on the boulevard, so their vehicles are parked right by their covered canopies, whatever. And then the guests walk on the sidewalks, but they are also, using the lawn. And they do use that Capitol Square for lots of things. It's year-round, actually. There's activities going on there. That's where they have Taste of Madison, and it's a big, huge venue with concerts and everything. I mean, it's big, but it's different. We're a small town. We would like to replicate something along that line. And I know that one of our farmers has also visited a town in Iowa, I can't remember where it is, and said they have that. They're using their courthouse lawn. But we certainly hear what your concerns are, and one of our issues is someplace where there's public restrooms too, and that doesn't exactly make the courthouse available, but.
Well, yes, and you just touched on the other thought I forgot about, was a lot, when I go to the farmer's market, the vehicles are right there. Of course, we're not going to allow any vehicles on our lawn.
Right.
And so some of them actually work right out of the back end of their vehicle. I forgot my other thought.
And most of our farmers like that concept, because if there's weather conditions, they can sneak inside their car or, take care of other things. So we're really exploring what our options are, and that's always been at the top of my mind, as this would be so wonderful to, create a major event for the city and the county. But
Well, I like the festival. I'm always up for fun, and I do participate with because I'm in the neighborhood.
Yes.
But, what do you use for public restrooms now? I'm only
We
4
don't
blocks
have
away,
any.
so I don't have a problem. But
Yeah.
what do you use now?
we don't
There
have
isn't
any.
Okay.
That's an issue, both for the customer but also for the vendors.
Where you were at before, where you did this on the public grounds, how did they handle the lawn issue when the weather was bad?
I was just a customer, so I couldn't tell you, but I do know, and it's been a long time. It's the Dane County Farmers Market in Wisconsin, and it's been going on for many, many years. So and I don't know, Farmers Market isn't the only venue that's held, on there, so lots of other things happen there. And I have not a clue as to how restoration happens.
Okay. Any further questions? I guess we didn't give you a real positive rah-rah. We're going to, we got a lot more questions, and maybe for your group to,
Yeah.
and you kind of got the feeling where we're.
We just needed to make the inquiry so we could stop thinking about the ideal possibility.
Okay. Thank you
Okay,
very much
thanks.
for coming.
Thank you.
Okay. You guessed it. Dick read my mind. I'm ready for.
Good morning. Have to apologize, it's kind of a bad hair day out there today, so.
Every day's a bad hair
Pretty much so, if you got hair to get bad. Yeah. Basically, probably the biggest item was last week I traveled to Pier to hear the introduction of House Bill 1131, which will be some pretty significant legislation. I believe they're going to try to combine it. The governor proposed one bill, and then the House Transportation and the Senate have kind of mingled one together. Thursday will be more discussion on that. I believe it'll be on the Senate floor. In a nutshell, they're looking for other ways and means of providing funding, and there were quite a few proponents out there. And I think it will be a good start. I think the biggest hang-up right now, from what I heard last week, was how the money would be distributed. There's a good share of the legislature that would really like to see more counties and local funds stay under their control, and the state, obviously, and the governor would like to see, a good share go through the state. I think we'll be okay either way, because it'll be a significant increase. Another thing they'll provide this money, if they go with the House version, is through a Transportation Commission grant program. And the counties or local entities will have to meet certain criteria and turn in an application, and then they would be awarded accordingly. Again, that I don't think will be a problem for us by any means. And the other things that as you get further down the line, proposing increasing license fees and gas tax and diesel fuel and commercial license plates on agricultural equipment and trucks are not going to be too well received. So again, it's very preliminary, but those are the things they're looking at and want to try to put through. But overall, it will end up hopefully about a $50 million increase in revenues that'll be used for local bridges and state bridges, and we certainly in Brookings County have no shortage of those, and so we can hopefully portray our needs to them and give us another source of revenue. So I'll keep you informed as that goes through the House and the Senate. Another one, last week I got notice from the Department of Transportation that Prom Construction out of Slayton, Minnesota was awarded the low bid for the bridge out there north of the gun range. And I know a couple weeks ago you were wondering if there was any idea when they would start. Once they finalize and approve them, we'll get notification of a pre-construction bid, or meeting, and that will pretty well, at that point, I'll find out the details on what will be a little more of a timeline of when the project could be finished, but it'll definitely be done in 2015. And the last thing is there's another, I think later on in the agenda, isn't there those utility easements resolutions for permits to occupy? Well, they'll be coming up. There's like 15 of them.
Yeah, thanks for not being here.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, we did about 17 of those
Yep,
last
yep.
meeting, yes.
Well, anyway, that's
Thank
coming
you. We got
about.
done at 4 o'clock.
Sorry. Oh, well, thank you much. I owe you a big thank you. But anyway, they're going to be coming. I've got another one here for the Capital X project coming up. They're going to be stacks of them because they're getting called a little bit more on even the overhang anymore onto the right-of-way. And these organizations, like the last meeting was East River Electric, and they just want to dot their I's and cross their T's. And Abby, if you don't have something to do someday and you're looking. I don't know if there's a better way to do that, that we could group it as a project and pass a resolution, or whether it might be better to just leave it as is and deal with it. It's just gonna be kind of busy, so, but that's why they're coming up. It's not anything that's been done in the past, it's just they're kind of, these new projects, they're covering their behinds a little bit.
Is that it, Dick? Questions from the commissioners? I know Abby's singing that Beatles song 8 days a week. She's trying to find one more day in there.
Yeah.
Townships, do they get any state money? And how,
They
what-
will, they
How
will.
do, they will under this bill?
Mhm.
Do they currently?
Well, they get a petition or portion of, we share the motor vehicle
Right.
tax, and
And wind,
that's it?
wind. And wheel.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wheel
back
tax,
to the
yeah.
township. And should this bill pass, what would be their mechanism? You know, I always look at these townships as a volunteer group, and
Mhm.
that's what I'm wondering, if they have to apply, and is it out of hand for us to give them some help? I mean, I always look at us as the mothership,
Yeah.
and townships.
I betcha we have to apply for
That would be my,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering how they,
Again, it's so preliminary, but that's the way I understand it, is that they just want to make sure that percentages, that they also are giving them verbiage to be able to raise their own revenue within the township for this type of stuff. So, and counties will also have that opportunity to raise their leverage.
That would be
so-
directed directly towards roads and bridges, right? If you're gonna
Right.
raise those.
Mainly bridges.
If you're gonna raise it, that's what it has to
Yeah.
go to.
Yeah.
Bridges.
And if we're gonna apply for one of those grants through the Transportation Association as written, that would be strictly for a bridge.
bridges.
So, but it fits very well, Ryan, with what we've been talking about. We gotta do a little more, on the shorter ones and the ones that we can afford, and leave the other ones, the longer and the more expensive ones, programmed, and it'll work out fine. Like I say, in Brookings County, I don't think we'll have any shortage of projects that we can come up with, so.
And that's why it's probably more beneficial to state allocating the money towards those
Right.
special bridges.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
okay. Just one last thing, I visited with Ted Smith from Sioux Valley, and how wonderful they are and how wonderful we are. And in the course of the conversation, he did say if I would pass along, and that Brookings County's been pretty good about this, but they've had problems in some counties that when they have a project, a road project, bridge project, that the contractor, they're unaware that it's being done, and the contractor hasn't been following the 811 or not paying attention to overhead, and they've had some real problems on some projects. So he asked that when we have a major road project, bridge project in the works, that we would give them a call. I don't know if that'd be, and that they would come on site to visit with the contractor before they got too far into it, because just to save the headache
Yeah.
later. And I got his phone number.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Dick, do you anticipate another trip out to Pier?
Did I what?
Do you anticipate another trip out to Pier?
I wasn't going to, because they're still working to try to merge the two bills together. So basically, the first one was just to give or show support for our organization, that we are promoting the Senate version. And the big difference between the two, I think, is just how the money will be distributed. And it would really be nice if they would free up a little more on a local, give us local control, but you never know.
Okay, any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Dick. And here's that number if you.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
You should have received in your packet, I just gave you the total transactions and dollar amounts for credit cards last year. 581 transactions, 137,000, and the amount that was that it costs the consumer to use that is $3,623. So it's about 2.5% depending on which credit card, but that gives you an idea of the usage for the year. And also I've been looking or tracking the legislation too that affects us. Senate Bill 20 that we talked about before, Joyce and I did, that's on mobile homes being put on real estate, and it's passed the Senate and it's also passed the House now. And that would affect us by 470 mobile homes that we wouldn't receive any income or any tax money on next year if it went into effect. It would go into effect July, but we already would have them registered this year. So it would be about 28,000. We would get it eventually, but it would be a year. You know, it would be just like the other taxes. They'd be paying in the rears instead of in the same year. And also Senate Bill 184, it prohibits the sale of tax certificates. And I have contacted the legislators that is, you know, that it's involved with that, and they are scheduling hearings on that. So I will keep an eye on that. There's only 7 counties in the state that sell tax certificates, but we've also let the schools know they're probably the biggest winner if we do sell tax certificates, because anywhere from 120 to 200,000 is what we've been bringing in with selling the certificates, so the entities get their monies right away for tax money. So I'll keep you updated on that. And also I put on your desk this morning about the e-poll book information. And just to kind of summarize that, the Secretary of State's office is giving us first chance to purchase the e-poll books that we had previously rented at $405 a book. So it would be a total for the 39 books that we have would be $15,795. And also, the price for software licenses, we would have to transfer the fee, so it would be $60 per book, and that would be a total of $2,340. And I also included in their new price is $1,967 for a new e-poll book. So if we had the 39, it'd be $76,713. And also the software license is $575 per book, so it'd be $22,425. And probably the biggest expense would be the software and support issue. And this Dusty Van Balen that would be working with the Hart vendor, and that's who the rented e-poll books were purchased through. And that price would be about $10,000 per election. And it would be setting up all the e-poll books. They would be here the day of election, and they would be working with the server and everything else that we would need support with. So that would be the big issue. And we did get a new HAVA statement that gave us back the money for the e-poll books that they charged us in error. And also, they did put on there the renting of the e-poll books. So our current balance is $61,860. So if you would decide to go with the e-poll books, we could use that money and not have to have it budgeted for the $15,795 and also for the software. But the $10,000, I'm not sure that we could take out of the HAVA.
That was my question, was could we use HAVA funds for that 10,000?
I don't know if you know, Stacy, but I just got this $10,000 figure late last night, so I don't know if we can use the HAVA funds for that or not. It is something that we could sure check on.
I think we just have to ask the Secretary
Yeah.
of State's office if that's have a reimbursable expense or not. I'm not sure if the support would be.
Okay.
But we don't, that being said, we don't have an election
Right, until
scheduled
next year.
Until 2016. So it
Yes.
wouldn't affect the budget this year
Right.
unless a special election came up.
Correct. And we did forward that information also to the city and school because they would be paying for their software and all of the updates for the election this year. So I don't know what your thoughts are on what you think of purchasing new e-poll books, the used e-poll books.
What's the life expectancy of these?
Good question, and I don't know the answer to it.
I doubt that anybody does. They're new.
Yeah, they're new.
But how old are these? 3 years, 4 years?
The ones that we have downstairs have been used for 2 elections, the primary and the general in November. They were new prior to that. So they've been used so they're just about a year old. Just one election cycle.
But that would be another good question to see, and maybe they don't know, but at least maybe they'd have some idea.
They don't get used a lot.
No.
No.
It's not like it every day.
No.
Any other questions?
And I'm thinking, and I would have to double check, but I'm thinking those software updates and the $10,000 would be included in that. Yeah, I think so.
Because that is support.
That is support and the software to program all the ballots and everything. So it is support also. Yes, yes. And that would be that we'd have to pay that. I think that they would want half of it before the election and the other half after the election. So it would be something we'd have to budget for next year or see if we could use HAVA funds for next year. But it wouldn't be anything that we would be looking at this year unless it was a special election. Yes, he has called and talked to both Kristen and I. And he was the one that did all of the service through the Secretary of State in the previous administration. So he is used to it, and he did a good job. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy. I think that he had everything just Johnny on the spot before. He thought it was a great deal. He didn't see any problem at all with buying the used.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, but the $10,000 seems excessive.
Yes.
For a day election.
Right.
That seems to be a lot of money. I understand if they're gonna add software upgrades to keep us up to date, because software can be just as expensive as the hardware.
Right.
Or if not more on
Right.
that stuff, and all of a sudden, these things becomes obsolete because the software changes and they want 50,000 to update the software. But maybe a discussion on that is saying, you know, I went to the commissioners and they're questioning the $10,000, the cost of that. Can you give me a breakdown of what that $10,000 is going to include so I can go back
Right.
and give us an idea? I mean, if I'm looking at this, don't get me wrong, we could possibly rent these also to other elections?
That is the other question too, if the city and the school would want to go in on the purchase. Otherwise, the way I'm understanding it from Secretary of State's office, that we would have to charge some kind of rent for each e-poll book that they used, because it would go back into the county HAVA fund. So it would go back to the county, but it would be state-held money. And when we rented, it was $10 for each e-poll book. And we did ask the Secretary of State, and there is nothing set up right now for anything to even follow. That's the only time that they've rented them was to us.
So a potential election with school board or city would, if we purchase these, they would rent them from us and just throw in the $10 a thing like the city of the state. But they would also be required to pay that $10,000 then too?
Well, theirs wouldn't probably be as much because they would only use like maybe 20 to 23 of the e-poll books. But yes, it would be 7,000 some dollars, is what the quote is right now, and that is subject to change.
Okay, one more question. How does that extra $10,000 fit into your budget, election budget? I mean,
Well, we'd have to budget it for next year because,
but I mean, we'd be subtracting some money.
right. And I don't know, Stacy, if you can answer that, how much we saved by going to the vote centers.
We
with
eliminated
people.
probably 12 to 15 election workers per election. That's, a couple $100. We saved some money there.
We don't rent them anymore.
We don't rent anymore. So it probably be a little bit more though, overall, than what our savings, were renting them. But
What's our alternative?
we don't have an alternative. It's
Go
either
back the
we
old
do
way.
e-poll books, and to do vote centers, you have to have e-poll books, bottom line. So if we don't do something, then we go back to precincts. The other thing is we are in a little bit of a time crunch because
Right.
the city and school have an election. The city will have an election because I think they had one council member say that he's not going to run. So I think inevitably we can expect an election in April. And so the city's waiting kind of on us to move forward on this too, so.
Any other questions?
I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. And the other question is are they letting anybody else? We got the first opportunity. Do we know how long we have to take that opportunity?
I don't think it's too long because Sioux Falls is looking
The
at
Sioux Falls School
purchasing.
District wants them.
Yeah.
And they're
So-
ready to purchase them today if we are going to pass
Right.
on them.
Right,
But
yeah.
we can use HAVA funds to purchase them.
Yes.
Yes, the purchase, the $15,000 to purchase and the $2,000 for the software, that $60 fee is a one-time fee to transfer the software license from the Secretary of State's name into Brookings County's name. So that fee, that $2,000, and then the $15,000 to purchase the e-poll books can come off of our HAVA held money. That's the $61,000 that we have out in Pier. Then we can also look in to see if that $10,000 charge could be used with HAVA funds. Eventually, those are going to go away. When we spend them, they're done and they're gone. But it's, it's ours to spend how we want to.
What does the acronym HAVA stand for?
Help America Vote Act,
Thank you.
established back in around 2001, 2002. And the county also supplied some match money. It was federal money. The county supplied some match money, over the years. And then the majority of it went into a state-held account. Each county had money at the state level. They had to spend down their county match money first, and then they could access these state-held HAVA funds for specific purchases that basically the Secretary of State's office signed off on. So
And we had a lot of money in there, but we bought a new, what was that?
we bought the 850 scanner, the ballot
Scanner,
scanner. That was
$112,000.
$112,000. So that was a big purchase last year.
Is that also through the vendor heart?
No,
That's something
that's something completely different, is not tied to e-poll books at all.
Do we need a motion on this?
There's no action on the agenda, so I guess we're just kind of looking for
The claim.
the claim. The claim will be the approval. And what would happen is we would pay the claim, and then we would ask for reimbursement from the state, and then they would send us a check back, and then we'd supplement it back into the elections budget this year. So initially, we'd see a negative budget for a little while until we'd get that reimbursement back.
And that's what we did with the scanner also.
I think we would be terribly remiss if we missed this opportunity to buy these at $405 a piece with the extra $60 to transfer the licenses. My opinion is go for it. And then see if we can use the HAVA funds for that 10,000 or not. If not, we'll budget next year.
Yeah, Dusty he was with Secretary Gant's administration with the e-poll books for the last couple of years. He has been kind of the guy behind the scenes. He's actually been here too on a couple different occasions, but it worked out real well. I mean, if an e-poll book went down on election day, we would call him up. Each one is numbered. We'd say, you know, e-poll book 1-3 is not working. He can log on remotely, fix it, and have it back up and running. And he did a great job. He really did. So.
Tell them we'll take them.
Okay, sounds good. And
Well, wait a minute, I'm still chair. I guess, yes, and I saw Bobby and bobbing. Okay, one last thing, and these were all excellent questions, and they answered a lot, I think, excellent questions by the commissioners. One thing in the future when you get to our election, and this guy may be great, but as being in business, I just love competition. Just to know that if he got into an illness, something, or the 10,000 turns out to be extraordinarily high, maybe we should have in our back pocket somebody else aware that we have these, and just so we could call them, and he's a one-man operation, right?
Well, no, he's being hired through Hart, the company who
Right.
we are
and
technically
he's got
going
a
to be
company name also,
Yeah.
so.
But he's on really by himself outside.
But
the
I think
Hart.
he's being subcontracted with Hart, the company who
I
owns the
believe so,
e-poll book.
yeah.
So I think if that
Okay,
goes
I didn't
bad, we
pick
have.
that up, but
Right.
if
Hart
he's out
would
on his
give
own,
us a
it just
backup.
doesn't hurt to.
And also with that $10,000 too, it would be somebody coming physically to the election or to the county when we have the election too. They would have support that would come right to us also. But I'll get more details on that. But if we want to go ahead with the purchase and changing the license over, we will get that done right away.
According to Vice Chairman Krogman, we are, so.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, Leon.
Do we need to decide anything as relates to the city? If the city's interested, are you saying they should be involved in the purchase as opposed to the renting later? What was the comment on that?
They have to rent from us.
Well, she
That isn't
mentioned
what I
The
understood.
purchase, going into the
It
purchase.
could be either way, but it might, it would be totally up to you,
But we have the HAVA funds here that we can
Yes.
use, correct? That would
Right.
not take out of the budget.
right?
We have the HAVA funds that will cover the expense of buying the e-poll books and doing the software license. We'll look into the support for, that's down the road in 2016 for us. For them, they can look at renting. I think that was the big thing. They were willing to rent, I think. They just wanted to know that they could get their hands on these things to
Right.
do vote centers for April.
And what they say through the Secretary of State's office is it's got to be just something that's fair to both parties for the rental. And we may not have an exact amount right now. That will be something that I'll research and bring back to you. But we will make sure that it's fair to both parties.
So there's nothing in our agreement when we buy these, we're able to do whatever we want with them. We can rent them out to people, we can sell them again in the future, there's nothing that restricts any of that?
They'd be ours.
Right.
And
yes.
if you want us to look into having the city and school buy them with us, we can do that too, to see what their level would be with comfort. But
I didn't necessarily mean that. I thought you had said something about the Secretary of State saying something special needed to be done if we were renting them
We
out.
just have to charge rent. If the city's going to use them or the school, we do have to charge rent. And I did send out an email to both the city and the school about if they would prefer going in on the purchase or renting. I heard back from the school that said they would prefer renting. I haven't heard back from the city. So,
I would prefer to rent to them.
okay.
When there is
Okay.
a school board or city election, the cost of those elections, what's our end of it? Just supervising it?
They use our scanner, and we provide workers, our building. They do the counting in our office, and we provide help, just like they provide help to the county elections.
And then, but they reimburse for the people that are at
They pay them on their own.
On their own, okay, just wondering what.
The workers, correct? The workers for the elections, they pay that on their
they
own.
pay all of the election expenses themselves.
Okay.
The cost for the election workers, any publication costs, ballot costs, scanner, programming costs. Really, the only thing we do is we provide the scanner and we provide some support on election night to help, because they're using our facility. And we also are in charge of the voter registration list, so we, provide some help with that as well. But that's it. We don't have a huge expense when it comes to city and school
Yeah.
elections.
I was just kind of curious, and yeah, and then the other side of the whole thing to me is voter convenience and encouraging participation in the process, and
And we do have
that's worth a few shekels.
we have an agreement with the city and school that was signed a number of years ago that they also provide staff support for us during our elections as well. We have employees from both the school district and the city come and work on election night helping count ballots, so we have that agreement there.
Oh, very good. That was good information. Okay.
Okay, should I just keep going into the finance officer's
Yes.
report? There is a action item for the county highway and emergency management transfers that we will need a motion on.
Okay. We can do that at this portion. Looking for a motion to approve the quarterly highway and emergency management transfer.
So moved.
Second.
Pierce, Krogman. Any question or discussion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Wyseth,
Aye.
motion carries.
And the only other thing on there is the be it noted items with the auditor's account with the treasurer, the payroll and additives total, the highway expenditure report, and the register of deeds statement and fees collected. I don't know if you had any other questions on the report itself. Okay,
Fisher.
that should be everything.
I have something to talk about for a second. I was accosted at Walmart regarding regarding our
Marty.
credit card fees,
Yeah,
how unfair that was to the public to have to pay that. And I said, that is not money that comes to us. That is not an amount that is set by us. Our vendors do that. And I said, and it was a clerk at Walmart, and I said, I'm sure Walmart pays the fee for you to have that here.
right.
And that's just the nature of doing business, but that wasn't satisfactory, and he was very adamant that checks are going to be a thing of the past, which they probably are, and so it was just food for thought, and so the rest of you commissioners know that we have people unhappy that they have to pay that fee.
Right, but it is a statute, we can't absorb those, and we aren't making any money. Maybe, it would take legislation to change that. We're at least offering the credit card. They can still write a check or pay cash and not have to pay those fees, but we're offering it to them if they want to. So,
But it isn't statute that we can't.
right, we cannot absorb those
Even if
fees.
we wanted to, we couldn't.
Correct.
And I told him those fees did not come to us.
They
went to
don't.
They're set by the credit card?
We
the
don't even
handler?
see them. We don't see them at all. They go directly to the credit card company, so.
That's a good question, and it's something for the commissioners to know when the public asks.
Right.
We can't build it into the cost of the product like business does. And
Right.
I just ordered my Game Fish and Parks fishing license, and they nailed me, so
Same thing.
I knew.
Convenience.
Mhm. Yeah.
It is. That's what it's called, convenience fee. So, thanks.
Thank you, Vicki. Okay, does everybody plow ahead? I didn't know if breaks or, okay. Beverly. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I am too, and I want to thank the Highway Department on my behalf too. It could have been a much more treacherous trip without the salt on the highways this morning. I'm here to give the Register of Deeds annual report to you for our business and revenue generated in the office. And we have up on the, if we could move that over to, can we, to get the total of the year, Stacy? Thank you. And I'll run through that. The office generated $376,209 this year. And the first total on that is $157,000, and that's with the transfer fees. And transfer fees, just a little quick rundown on those again. Transfer fees or exempt codes are required on deeds that are recorded with us, and the transfer fee is based on $1 per thousand of the purchase price of the real estate. And again, we brought in $157,000 for that. The next line is the general fees, and that's $159,056. General fees are the filing fees for the real estate documents, and that's $30 per document. UCC financing statements, that varies. Average, I would say, is about $33 for each UCC. And location notices, which we had absolutely no location notices this past year, so we brought in 0 on that. The next line is marriage licenses, $10,760. We did 269 marriage licenses at $40 each. The next line at $44,685 is the certified copies of vital records, which is the birth, marriage, and death records. We issued $2,979, or $2,979 certified copies at $15 each. And the last line is the copies and discs. Copies are the PTs, or the physical transfers that Farm Service Agency gets from us each month. And they keep track of the sales, the land sales in the county with getting those copies. And then Dakota Abstract buys a CD with the documents that we have brought in for the month, and they pay $350 a month for that CD. The next section, I just have broken the totals down. General fees, I broke it down into the actual filing fees and the financing statements, which is the UCCs. And then the third section shows the breakdown of the technology fee. Now, the technology fee, a short explanation on that is, I came into law in 2012 for when the flat fee bill came into law. And of that $30 of our filing fee for each document, $5 of that $30 is for the Register of Deeds for a technology fee. That goes into a separate account. $3 of that $5 stays in the county. $2 of that $5 goes to the South Dakota Association of County Officials into a fund there. And in August, they divide what is in that fund and divide it between the 66 counties, and we each get an equal portion of that fund. It was set up that way so that the smaller counties, they need to keep their documents safe and stay up with technology just like we do, the larger counties do. They don't have the revenue to do that. So it was set up to help everyone equally in that way. This year we got 4,600 and something. I've got it here somewhere, but a little over $4,600 that each county got. That money can only be used for software, equipment, supplies, training fees, maintenance, and contract services for preserving the records in the Register of Deeds office. Our balance is $41,227 in Brookings County's balance. Currently, I'm using it to rent a scanner to scan the deed books that are too large for our copier scanner that we own, so I rented a scanner to do that. And we have it in, I have it budgeted to use other things throughout the year too. Okay? And then the fourth section, I have it broke down for the certified copies. $21,145 stays in the county, and the state's share was $23,540. The county gets, out of every birth and death certificate that we issue, we keep $5 of that. We keep the $15 for every marriage certificate that we issue. The state gets the $10 for the birth and death, and they get nothing for our marriage certificates that we issue. But then the next is the marriage licenses. That is also broke down. Our local domestic abuse shelter gets $30 from every $40 marriage license that we issue, and they got $8,070, and the county got $2,690. And then the last section, I broke it down to show exactly what revenue actually stays in the county from the different sections of what we do in the office. The actually stayed in the county was $334,567. The next page, I have just a comparison sheet on how we did from 2013 and 2014, the difference plus or minus. And then I also put on 2012 just as kind of a fun comparison, just to see how the trend is going. We had a decrease overall from 2013. We decreased a total of $23,009.50. The transfer fees was up, as was the marriage licenses, but we went down quite a bit on general fees. $34,958 we went down on general fees, and a little on certified copies, and the copies and discs basically stayed the same. And then the last page, I have a comparison just on the number of documents, and that too is between 2013 and 2014. We were some over 900 less documents in 2014 than 2013, so that in itself is why the general fees was so much lower. Any questions on that? Yes.
So I'm familiar with most of what you're talking about here, but what is a location notice?
It's a stock dam.
Stock dam.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I just want to say one thing. This report was just outstanding because it was easy to read, it was easy to understand, and thank you for going to all that work.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Along that line, though, what's the Uniform Commercial Code? Is in there with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a,
Why would somebody pay the registered deeds to follow the commercial code? I mean,
it's filed and recorded. It can be filed and recorded. A lot of them are filed with the state, and actually there's a bill with the legislature right now to file everyone with the state, which all of us registered deeds are going, yes, because they are kind of hard to understand, especially for people from out of state that are doing them, because it's not a flat fee, and it differs on how many borrowers are on it. It differs how many pages the UCC is for the fee. It also is confusing for them if it's filed only on the name or recorded on the real estate. And when it's filed on the name with the state, the Secretary of State's office sends us it to be recorded on the real estate. But it is, with, like if a farmer puts up bins or irrigation systems or anything that is movable off of the real estate, but they need to finance it, that way it's filed on their names, and it's also recorded on the real estate. So the
Uniform Commercial Code sets forth every type of property, and it says you have to record this with your, in the county where the property is, or with the Secretary of State, and it tells you which place for each item. So people always have to check both places, basically.
Any other questions? I think
Okay.
we all thank you for an excellent report.
Oh,
Thank
thank you. I appreciate that. I was going to tell you a couple things since I didn't sit down on the department
Sure.
head. We had an agriculture class, or agriculture, I'm on agriculture. We had an architectural class from SDSU that came through our office during research for their class assignment. That was 21 students had to pick a parcel of land in Brookings, or very close surrounding areas. The professor preferred it in Brookings City. And they had to research the legal description and then find certain criteria on their parcel to see if they could build their building, whatever they were going to design, and they had to check for easements or restrictions or something on that parcel. So that was that was an interesting, to have all the students come through. That was kind of neat, because they came through, you know, just 2, 3 at a time. And so that was interesting. On April 1st, an SDSU real estate appraisal class will meet here. And I will be one of the government officials to speak to them, and I'll explain what our office does and show them how to use index books and bring an example of documents and stuff. And then they will get their assignment, and they will then consequently come and do research in the office. And I know other department heads are speaking, and I know Joyce is quite active with that also, because they'll be, you know, going in her office too and stuff. And I mentioned that scanner rental that was being paid. We are actually, as of today, done with that scanner. We have 25 more deed books that are too large for that scanner, and also for our copier scanner. But we have a large scanner in our postage room that we purchased a few years ago, that those other 25 deed, we will be able to use that one. And Sean has set us up with, you know, getting that scanner to talk with our alchemy, and so we're kind of excited to be on the last leg of scanning those deed books. We started out with 138 to scan and only do it in our spare time, and so it has been a process. So
you will be completely backed up digitally at the end of that, right? Then?
the deed books will be,
Yeah.
and that is my main concern with the deed, because we get in those the most, and with the mortgage books, we only go back typically, you know, 30, 40 years maybe. But the deed books, we go all the way back to homesteading times to research things, so we're doing good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. All right, next item on the agenda, B, discussion and possible action to approve revision to the content of the published minutes of the commission meetings. In your packet, that thing from the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners was there. I think you sent a sample of some other minutes, and you had a bill that,
There's a
yeah,
bill going through the legislature right now. I don't know if it'll take hold or not. That speaks to being able to publish minutes on a website. Basically, if you have a library in your county, the way I understand it, that offers internet access free of charge, you could publish your minutes on a website. You would have to, though, give notice, I believe, quarterly in newspapers, letting readers know where they can find the minutes. And obviously, we'd still have them here in the finance office. But then I think I gave you an example of the minutes from our last meeting. Without any of the discussion on it, we still would have to obviously list claims, full text of resolutions, things of that nature. I think we went from 15 pages down to 11 pages. Just taking out just the discussion piece of it.
We didn't have a lot of discussion on those 17 from Dick, though. We didn't have a lot of discussion with the
Yes.
17 from Dick.
Tough crowd today, huh?
Okay, and that was Stacy's report. Any comment or questions or discussion? I guess it's discussion time.
I am absolutely opposed to taking the discussion out. We have a program that we can go back by only using a word and find minutes that tell us exactly what the conversation was, why we made the decisions we made. And without that, I think we're nothing but blind rats. We need to have that discussion. And I received a phone call on it, and she was absolutely opposed to us shortening up our minutes. I've talked to some other people who, one was a former commissioner, and I said, what was the reason? I've talked to actually, one phone call was from a former commissioner, and then I called another former commissioner. And she said that we got in so much trouble not having the full version of our discussion that we absolutely decided it was worth the money to us to have the discussion in our minutes. And that's the same thing that the phone call told me. And I will not vote to shorten up our minutes, no matter where we publish them.
Thank you. Other commissioners? Good, go ahead.
I guess I've also gotten a couple phone calls. I feel having this total discussion in the paper is beneficial because a lot of people don't have, I'm not saying a lot of people, but some people do not have access to a computer otherwise. They do have the paper, and at times even reading the minutes in the paper as we do them now, there's kind of a gray area there. Discussion is, minimal on some of our larger issues.
Okay, thanks, Larry. Ann?
I just want to say if we vote to leave it all in, I'm fine with that. But I do think it's important to understand, and I did look at the Roberts Rules of Order and read that, and I looked at this document, the Quick Guide to Parliamentary Procedure, and you don't normally put any of that discussion stuff in your minutes. And it says right there, the items ordinarily not included in the minutes is the identity of the seconder on the motion and the debate discussion held on the motion. The purpose of the minutes is to show the action that was taken, which is we make a motion, it was approved, and this is what the motion was. But if everybody decides to go the other way, that's fine. It just costs us a lot of money every year, and I'm not sure we get all that benefit out of it, but that's just my comment.
But there was a reason that they changed from the shortened version, because that's how it used to be. And the reason was to keep them out of trouble, because they could go back and see why the discussion led them to where their vote went.
That really, in my opinion, shouldn't make a difference. You pass a motion, you got your verbiage, that's what you do. And the reasoning, maybe it's nice to have that for historical purposes, but it has nothing to do with how you implement exactly what that motion said. You do what you said in your motion that was approved.
I understand that, and I agree with that statement. However, when we need to go back, I don't know, I just last meeting, I had Stacy go back and research something that our discussion on a motion that was made and why we did that. And I don't want to lose, we've lost so much institutional memory when we lost our seasoned commissioners, I'll call them. And I'm not I think we would be very remiss if we shorten these minutes up and leave out this discussion.
Brian, you want to chime in on this?
Well,
or-
I just, are those minutes that are taken, like you're taking them now, would that change the way you do your minutes, or do you keep them and then only publish the action?
Well, that'd be
I'm
by your
not going to be
discretion.
taking minutes much longer, I hope, but
Yeah.
if I, if you're saying that that's all you want, is just motion action, no discussion, yes, it would be, it would be very different for me sitting here taking notes.
You would not take the notes the way you would take them, you would not document the discussion, you would not do all that stuff?
No.
Okay.
Anything else?
And you saw those minutes that we had from way back at our last meeting. They were nothing. They told me nothing.
I had the same phone call from one former commissioner, and respect her dearly and disagree with her occasionally on a few things, but wonder. And what I also did when we had this discussion, I started thinking what other people do. So not that we should always do what other people do. I hopped around, looked at, and I'm always looking to save money, but if it's necessary to get it all out, I believe history has a value, but pretty much I always worry about where I'm going, not where I've been. So I don't rely on that so much. I care more about what you folks think and then what a commission thought 5 years ago, but history does repeat itself sometimes if you don't check history. So I guess, I don't even, getting ahead of myself, what do we spend? And by the way, you don't get a vote in this because I know you want every word possible. What do we spend on publishing our minutes in the current newspaper? What does it cost? What are we talking about? What's the difference? Let's say we got it down to 10 pages from 15, and then it gets down into what is the dollar amount? You know, Stacy? What's the difference? What do we pay?
I think I had that in the packet from last,
You did.
Yeah.
from last time. I think we spent, just in commission minutes, it was around close to that 40,000, maybe not quite, for the publication of minutes in 3 legal newspapers.
Okay.
If we're talking exclusively just publication of minutes.
Yeah, and not all the other stuff.
All the
Yeah,
others.
Yeah, very good. And so let's say I guess if we had a 10, 20% reduction, then you could equate that to $4,000, $8,000, I guess. And we do have television and other ways of getting information, and of course, if we're going to post the whole thing on the website, we kind of have talked about, well, then you go through all the time, it's no difference. So I'm pretty flexible. This is one of those I ain't going to jump on the sword over, so, but I'm sure am open to whatever the commission's.
I just don't think it's ready yet for that. I think we need to publish the whole works.
Okay, and I see heads nodding. Okay, so we'll move on to C, and that's adding Elkton Record as official legal paper. Let's have discussion first, and then I guess. It's
That adds a 4th one, is that correct?
Yes, yes, every other year we switch back and forth between the White, Tri-City Star and White, and the Elkton Record. So basically odd years we're publishing in White, even years we're in the Record. That's just for minutes. There's other,
yeah.
those are the legal papers, so yes, but I think there's other things that get published, throughout the year in the Elkton Record as well.
When there are things that affect the people in that area directly, that's when things are published over there, correct?
And I know, like with my election notices, we're in Elkton on an even year.
Yep.
even though Tri-City Star is not a legal publication during an election year, I always publish all of the election notices there, the sample ballots, the notice of election, deadlines, that sort of thing. So it's not excluded then for that kind of thing.
So my question now is, we're gonna go from 3 to 4 every year, these 4. We're not gonna flip-flop between Tri-State and Levy?
That is the decision that is
Till
at the
next
table.
January when we approve the papers again, you know. I mean, this is only good for this year, right? Right. Yeah.
Right, yes, you approve the legal papers annually.
Move to approve Elkton Record.
We have a motion to approve the Elkton record. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Okay, now, gone from general discussion to discussion on the motion.
For what reason are we doing this?
Well, if I can answer that, ahead of, unless somebody, don't want to jump ahead of the other commissioners, but we just had a discussion how important minutes were, and now we're excluding one of the papers and the people in that community. So if minutes have value, seems like we ought to be in every legal paper for every citizen in our county.
I just, to add that too, just to separate Elkton and one the other for every other year, I guess, doesn't, one year it's more important, one more it's not. I think all 4 of them should be just, and we do that for the next 15 years, I guess.
And it'll be only for this year that we're adding Elkton,
Right.
because that's one of our house cleaning or house setting up our house for the year at the beginning of the year. Any other question or discussion concerning the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Jensen?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Wyseth?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Oh, geez, this one. Okay, discussion and possible action to approve a schedule for accepting the liquor license application. We had a couple of things in the packet, and we had the city of Brookings, which, by the way, is a liquor agreement, a little different, but they're kind of blends into the same thing because they occasionally get new licenses, and they have to go through the process of issuing another liquor agreement, but their process is the same as issuing a liquor license, essentially. And then you had another county there, I can't remember, Union. Any thoughts about what she sent out and how far you want to go with this?
Was the reason we couldn't do it right away last time was we had to wait for a certain amount of time. We missed a deadline. So what's that deadline again? Can you refresh that to me?
September, you have to, by resolution, designate how many liquor licenses are available by September 1st for the following year.
Okay.
What happened was we didn't realize until after September 1st last year that we had the 7th license. We've done that now by resolution, approved, so we have 7 available for 2016 because now we've taken that action prior to September 1 of this year, 2015.
Okay. So we can move forward as fast or as slow as we want.
Right, this isn't anything that we have to do. We don't have to approve anything today, but I think any entity who applies would like to know sooner rather than later whether they're going to have a liquor license come January 1st.
But they wouldn't get their license until January 1st.
Not until January 1 of
So it doesn't matter.
2016.
I mean, it's nice to let them know, but they're not going to be selling
Right.
liquor in
December
November.
31st,
Yeah.
but to prepare for the opening
I
January.
totally
yeah,
understand,
okay.
yeah. I mean, I just,
And also, what's going to be required of them? You know, somebody just sitting around a tavern right now and they get a napkin out, and we ought to get one of those. Well, it just isn't a matter of showing up. Do we want to put criteria like site plans and business plans like the city does? By the way, there are many state laws, and one of them referred to the state laws. You have to not only be of good character, but I think no felony, there's several laws that we're required to follow. This might be, and I don't want to cut off discussion wherever, but we can talk about this laws. This one might be one of those worth having a subcommittee looking at examples and suggestions for the commission to look at. Just throwing that out, that's,
Stacy, what is the criteria now for those who have?
oh, in Brookings County?
Do you know?
Is it not 98.6 and meet the state law?
With approvals now for renewals, I mean, if they have the application in, the application is correct, they're not a felon, and they've submitted their fee, they're automatically renewed. This issuing a new license is something brand new to me. I don't know what else you can look at besides,
Their
you know,
application.
the application itself. I'm not sure. So,
One of it too is renewal was taxes, right? Delinquent taxes, they have to have their taxes paid up.
property taxes have to be paid if they are responsible for paying them. If they lease the property, then that's not the case. But yes, property taxes have to be paid. And then some things hold them up at the state level too. Once they're approved at the county level, they'll go on to the Department of Revenue. If their sales taxes haven't been paid, Department of Revenue will hold them up and hang on to them until those sales tax discrepancies have been cleared up. So some of those things can kind of get held up either here at our end or at the state's side too.
Do we have the population figures now for this year so that we know exactly where we're at on, will there be another license, or is this what we've got now?
We
He's
did
not
che-
here.
We did check, and there is a 7 available, and we are going to be checking every year. They said that they use the census from the 10-year census, but if properties annex from the city, then that affects the population. So we're just going to be checking with the Department of Revenue every year just to confirm that.
So we've had our check for this year,
Yes,
and this
yes,
is where
we
we're
have.
at.
I was just, I referred to Bob not being here because I just read an article that in Sioux Falls and in Minnehaha County, their planning zoning gets that number from the census. And but you get it from the Department of Revenue, that's good enough for me because they're the one that issue the license, so.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, and then I guess we've always, when we've updated these at the year, we always asked, sheriff, have we had any issues? And they do countywide, stings for underage, selling to minors and stuff. And we certainly appreciate your input there. Has anybody that's been around been a basis where we've taken a license away for some reason or another? Anybody remember that? I mean, or any?
Not on the county level, but on the state level.
The state level, the state has taken away
Yes.
a license because in our
This-
county,
Yes.
Usually,
The state has suspended the license, I know.
Suspended, yes.
Suspended the license
Yes, suspended.
for a
Okay.
period of time.
I believe some small towns have done it.
I think Baltic
Smaller,
had
they
an
haven't paid
issue.
their liquor bill,
Wasn't it Baltic or Del Rapids down in there? They did take one away when it came for renewal.
So I think some of the issues that we need to decide is, first of all, what's our application fee going to be? And then is there a cost for the liquor license if you're approved? And if so, how much is that going to be? And then I think we need to look at, first of all, there are those tier 1 criteria that the state requires, not being a felon and that it's a suitable location. Suitable candidate, suitable location. But if you have more than one applicant, you need some other criteria. And I think we have to have that criteria in writing that we've adopted before we go into the process. Otherwise, how do you have something that justifies the decision that you make? So those are all things that I think we need to consider, and I think Tom might be right that we would need maybe somebody to come to put together some ideas. And I would be willing to work on that if that's something that the commission decides.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, and that's the main reason why we provided a lot of this information. Vicky and Stacy, and myself have been visiting about this since our past meeting, and the reason we provided what the city does and what other counties do is that there's very diverse ways you can treat these, and that's your guys' decision to determine that, and we're here to implement whatever you decide. So I guess I would agree and be more than willing to help if you want to do a subcommittee and we need to put something together in writing. But yes, that would be my position as well, that you really need to have that plan in place before you proceed any further.
She's absolutely right. Other than meeting South Dakota codified law, some places is the 98.6 rule. If you're a warm body, you can come and get one. And then it's just a slugfest, which if there's more than one. And so having a plan in place. As far as the fees go, just in the last 5 or 10 years, the state went to $1 per person for the city. And then the renewal remains the same down there in the lower price range. But I don't think they did it for the county, so we'd have to research that. And then there'd be a minimum, because the state has a minimum for sure, because they get their cut. But so we would have that, and I don't think they gave, I'm not sure, county, so many little things. But I think that both of these examples had site plans, business plans, and various descriptions of what that business plan would be. So there's some thought by the applicant and some information for commissioners to make a decision besides whatever. But
And I don't know the status of the law, and maybe Abby does on this, but it used to be that liquor licenses could be sold by people after they had them, and now Brookings doesn't allow that any longer.
No.
But I don't know if that's if there's a state law on it, and are we going to take a position on that if that's something that is optional? And what is our position? I mean, those are all things that have to be
Yeah,
addressed.
got to look into that. The city has been gracious to consider the agreement the same as a license, and all the transfers and sales in the past here have acted like. But everybody's got to remember, in Brookings, they're an agreement, which the city controls.
Exactly.
But they have acted as though, and so I believe transferability is brought up. But once again, you have to meet the criteria of the state at the bare minimum. You can't sell it transfer it to a felon or whatever. But I guess I agree with Leanne about having a subcommittee of 2, to work with our staff on formulating a presentation for the full commission. Is there agreement with that concept, and is there somebody else that would be willing to work with Leanne?
You're the only one of us that's had a liquor license.
Yeah, I've been all over the board with those licenses.
I don't have an interest in getting involved in the liquor license.
Okay, well, Leanne, is that agreeable that we would come up with something to present to you?
I agree, but I just don't want this thing to get so burdensome because we have one license. I mean, it's a different story for what the city has gone through and the amount of applicants that they have and all that kind of stuff. They really needed to have something in writing to narrow it down. And, the last time I talked to one former commissioner, and boy, it's been a long time, and then when they had it, they basically said, we published it in the minutes. If somebody wanted it, they came in, they gave us their presentation, and we gave it to them. I just don't want this to get too burdensome for somebody that wants to, start up a business. I understand they got to have business stuff, and that's good business sense to do that.
Yeah.
But and I don't want the fee to be $100,000 for them to try to get in, because that's going to stop. Might limit a lot of people. So I don't want it to be. My first gut reaction is we got the state rules, state regulations, pay their property taxes. If they come in front of us and we feel they've got a decent location, let's let them go.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate we're going to have 4 available and we have to start choosing everybody.
Well, Ryan, I agree, but I always hope for the best but plan for the worst.
Yeah,
And
I understand. And I understand too, because I'm all about future planning and it could change. But
I just don't want a situation where I have seen government bodies facing a decision that they hadn't planned for. And so that's the only thing
I have to agree with Ryan. I'm concerned that it'll get so cumbersome that we curb some economic development out there, and I do not want to see that happen.
And my
well, that'll
concern
be your
is-
opportunity when we present something to you to
Right.
tone it down to whatever is you're comfortable with.
My concern is that we just have a process in place if we have more than one applicant that applies for the license.
Yes.
If we only have one applicant, it's easy. But if we have more than one, we want to do it right.
Well, even if you have one and you turn them down, what's your cause? I mean.
But then again, if they hit all the criteria, both of them hit the criteria, we're in the same situation anyway. I mean, if both people have met all their stuff and both standing there, now it's a decision on
Still have to-
where it's located, what's the business type, which is the same thing we have right now anyway. So-
Yes, that's right. But usually in the presentations, in my experience, have sorted out the wheat from the chaff.
Maybe this commission would want to follow Union County's example. If we have two applicants, they meet the state criteria, it's whoever bids the highest for the license. That's what Union
Well,
County did.
That's
Really? Is that
another,
how Union County-
yeah.
That's exactly what's in our packet, yeah. If you met the state requirements, yep, you came in and whoever bid the highest got
Yeah.
the license.
That's socialism.
Yeah, that's another cool concept, I guess. Okay, Leanne and I will proceed and put together, I guess, other than the timeline that we want to work under.
You want to put together a deadline?
Well, we need to,
We need to
got it
make
in.
it, and that's the other question is how do we show it's available? Do we put it in the minutes? Previously, again, talking to previously commissioners, that's what they did. It was just, they didn't do a special advertising, they didn't do anything, they just put it in their minutes that there's a license available. Whoever wants it can come in and make application. And so do we advertise for it? When does that start, and how much time do we give?
I think both Union County and the city of Brookings in the documents we were provided, put a notice in the paper. If I recalled that
I
right.
think that's how we should.
And I think, didn't you think they should have, excuse me, 6 months?
Yes.
Hi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they need adequate time for preparation. If they know they have a license to open, unless it's an already beer wine thing and it's not that big a deal. But for somebody that has a plan, they, construction time and, but I know July 1. I think we should have something in place by July 1 and begin to advertise
When do you make a decision, though? We gotta make a decision.
ahead in June. At least June. I'm working backwards towards us.
Oh, we need to have something in June, so we can put it out in July.
Or
But
even
then,
in
but then
June.
how much time do we give them to respond? Because we gotta make a decision on who we get the license to before the first of the year, and we don't wanna wait till end of December to do that, do we?
No. I think, Leanne and I will come up with something in a timeline. If we, by one of the March meetings, and that includes the timeline of advertising and,
I don't think we can have it by one of the March meetings, but we can try.
no, we
I
can,
think it might take a little longer than that, but
Yeah.
we'll try.
we'll try to have it by then. Okay?
Again, just don't wanna make it too,
Cumbersome.
yes.
Yeah.
We got it.
Yep.
Let's
Very
go for
good.
easy.
Okay. Okay, item E, action to approve resolution 15-06, updating the investment policy she's going to put on the screen. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Miller Pierce. Okay, discussion on the investment policy.
It's just mainly a change in the different banks that have merged, and also address on a bank, and changing the treasurer to county finance officer. Abby went through and did that. We did it together.
It doesn't change your formula or anything?
No.
Yeah. I've already had my piece on that. There's that, I came from a background of competitive bid for this, but we have a formula that's worked in the county for a long time, so.
We've already been that route.
Yeah, that's what I said,
Move
already been
on.
down that road, so I'm not gonna be pounding away at that. So, discussion or question? Hearing none, take the roll.
Pierce,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Wyseth.
Aye.
Motion carries.
F, action to approve application number 2015-05, an elderly and disabled tax freeze application. All right.
Second.
Question or discussion?
Just the same thing as before, just a late one. Hopefully, this will be the last one we have. They just didn't get their application in time, just got it in.
Okay. Any more question or discussion? Call the roll, please.
Krogman, Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Wyseth.
Aye.
Motion carries.
H, action to approve resolution number 15-07. Resolution
Oh,
setting.
we missed one.
What?
Item G.
I got a little, thank you. I got a little fast with my pen. G, action to approve an operating transfer in the amount of $15.4917, contract law 237-4-911-40 to general fund 101-3-371-40. Marty's gone.
Oh, that was cleaning up, wasn't it?
We're still cleaning up the
Yeah,
contract
yes,
law
yeah,
fund.
okay.
After we took action after we took action, I think first part of January to do that, some money was inadvertently reseated back into that fund again before we had a chance to do the bookwork on it. So this just continues to clean it up.
Second.
Krogman, Miller. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Wyseth.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, H. Action to approve resolution number 15-07, setting weight limit enforcement on Brookings County highways.
Move approval.
Pierce,
Second.
Second.
Miller. Any question or discussion concerning this?
Dick, is there a letter that you still send to the Highway Patrol for enforcement also? That comes after this, right? Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Call the roll, please.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Wyseth.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Aye. Action to approve resolution number 15-08, authorizing purchase of corrugated metal pipe, bridge materials, grater blades based upon the price established through the County of Beetle, County, South Dakota, bid process. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Larry and then Ryan. Okay, question or discussion?
I just have a question for Abby. The Brookings County doesn't have to bid it itself. We can use somebody else's bid, and that's sufficient under state law for the bidding requirements?
Correct, there's a specific statute on point that authorizes this, and we've done it on a number of occasions, and the statute that's referenced in there, that 519A22, is what gives us that ability.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or discussion concerning these purchases? Resolution. Okay, hearing none, call the roll.
Pierce,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Wyseth.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Commission Department Directors Report.
Part of my report that's was actually presented in the packet. Norris Patrick stopped in the office, made sure that to make sure to invite the commissioners to the township annual meeting Thursday, March 5th. I think our Joyce Dragseth will be presenting at 11, meal at noon, and then their township meeting at 1 o'clock out at the Resource Center. We've already discussed the minute revision and the liquor licenses. Included registration information for the Transportation Safety Conference. If any of you plan to attend that, let me know so I can get you registered. Unless you want to do that on your own too, that's fine, but let me know. The SDACC Spring Workshop, we discussed that at the last meeting as well. I submitted the travel request today, and the claim will get approved at the next meeting and all 5 of you are planning to attend that in March. The first SDACC legislative update from Bob and Chris was included in the packet. I did email out another one to you too. I think she sends those out Friday late in the day on Friday. So there was another one too that was emailed to you. So if you didn't get that for some reason, you can let me know and I'll be sure to pass that along. Let's see, I think I discussed the drainage meeting. Yes. Yes. Yes, I've already got them. Yes. You don't need one. Okay. 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 The drainage meeting, I already said February 17th, that South Brookings drainage from 1 to 3 up in our suite of offices in our conference room there. I handed out this morning the first quarter of 2015 LIIP grant. The quarterly report for our GOED grant for the Novita project is due actually tomorrow, so I've already sent that off, but what is in front of you is what got sent. Basically, we haven't done anything yet, so that's what we've been sending out to economic development, just letting them know, and she's good about letting me know when those are due. They're due quarterly. The budget books for 2015, the full budget, adopted budget, I think Tom and I have had discussions that used to come, those of you used to receive a printed version of it, a bound version. Instead of doing a thick book for each of you, we put it into Dropbox now, so you can access it online on your iPads. If you want a paper copy, let me know. We do have one in our office, too, that we did print out and bind if you want it. But anyway, any questions on that?
Well, I only refer to it when there's a question. And I had a question, and I dug through that pile of mine, and I couldn't find it. And then we realized they haven't been printed. And so they have been printed in the past, and the commissioner wanted it. We can provide it, but Stacy says it's costly, takes very time-consuming.
It does take a lot of time to create those bound documents and tab them all.
It depends, I guess, on your total amount of use. Otherwise, if you had a question, you could go to Dropbox, look up so you could answer the constituent question in my case.
It's there now.
Yeah. So, but if you want to, I guess, just see Stacy afterwards, and then you can do a printed one.
Yes, we do have one printed version in the office, too, that we did.
I was just wondering if you liked it, because I just heard you say, I like that paper in my hand.
Well, listen, Stacy's a very convincing person, and she had to work over my
You wait till we get to budget time, Tom.
My paper addiction. I was mocked.
We'll see how much paper I give you at budget time,
this
too.
is something you guys can.
It's not in my Dropbox.
It isn't in mine either.
It's not. Well, I'll visit with Michelle. We'll take a look at it and see where she put it.
Obviously, if you want them printed, I guess if you get a couple, 3 of them, you might as well do all 5. But I guess get a hold of Stacy, and then
I'll visit with Michelle about that, too.
And it'll come out in Dropbox in a separate packet, or a separate item called budget, so that you don't dig through packets to find it.
Yeah, it won't be part of the packets.
Okay.
I'll visit with her and see why it's not showing up. It's a very large document, too, so if you're...
2015 annual budget.
Larry's got it. It might just take it a while to upload if you're just getting into, because it's quite a large document.
Well, obviously, we want to do whatever keeps you informed. It's not used a lot once it's put in place by us, but it does come in handy when you get a question, because obviously, like she says, it's many pages. My memory can't pull them all up.
Thank you, though.
Okay?
Okay?
So, anyway.
Just a couple more things. After our work session on the strategic plan yesterday, I emailed out to each of you the updates from what was discussed yesterday. Tom did email me back last night with a couple suggestions. One was, in the principles and values, we have empowerment as one of them, and you said blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Well, if you have yours, you know, it's funny when you write something, you step away from it, it looks different the next time. And that was an older item. I started at the beginning. It says, give others the necessary authority and responsibility. Be accountable. Who's being accountable? What? And we kind of took that from the original, the old one, and there was a paragraph before that that explained who's accountable, who we're talking about. And we just start principles and values, and we have, and the other ones are fine. You know, they apply to whoever is holding this, but it just says be accountable. And it just seems like not a wordsmith, but you're held accountable because we give you the necessary authority and responsibility. It just, there it is out there, a comma, we got a and responsibility, comma, be accountable. It just didn't seem to have a flow. And like I said, I looked it up, and it was in the older one, but the older one did have a paragraph leading up to those items that kind of set the stage. And I'm not a good enough I sent her a suggestion, and I wasn't jumping up and down over that suggestion, but it just, I thought that sentence could stand a little work.
I couldn't open.
Here.
She's got it up.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, of course.
I don't know if you just want to look it over or take a look at it and think. There was one other suggestion that Tom had too.
On the other one? The other one or this one? No. Oh,
No.
what did I write? Yeah. Yeah. No, well, it's just empowerment. No, I wanted to keep that and give others necessary authority and responsibility. But just the way, comma, be accountable. It seems like that makes you accountable, or be accountable when we give you authority and responsibility. It's kind of like an afterthought. And like I said, the other one had a paragraph that kind of led up to it, so it made more sense. But when it comes out of the complete blue, it just... You're saying get rid of be accountable. I'm not saying get rid of it. I say maybe work it into the sentence so it makes the sentence make more sense. But Leanne, you usually have a thought on those kinds of things.
I'm going to say what I said before. I think this whole section, the principles and values, isn't appropriate in your strategic plan. And I think we should eliminate that section. All that is defining some words. It doesn't really say anything for us in our plan. I don't know that it has any significance.
Well, I also think this is going to go to department heads, and this is what we expect out of, and this should go to their employees also. This is what we expect out of the principles and values of our county. And maybe it needs to be in a different document. I don't know, maybe that's a situation, but the one thing I thought was to get rid of accountable, maybe accountability, add something into that.
Who's giving? When you read this, who is giving this?
Department heads, we are giving it to department heads.
See, okay, then it should somewhere, maybe principal values of the department heads and the commission. I mean, who's doing this? You know, you even read the paragraph above, there's a strategic plan, but it doesn't say for who. Well, it says county, but I mean, commissioners,
You think
departments.
so deep.
Yeah. But that one just jumped out. The other ones, be honest, and have strong moral and ethical standards. But I think we should state maybe this is for the commissioners, department heads. We give others the necessary authority and responsibility and they must be accountable. I mean, that.
Just to answer, what I would say though is this is everybody that's in our county, because we're not gonna be able to accomplish this stuff by ourselves, just commissioners,
Right.
just department heads, and just employees.
I think
This
you
is
need to say
everybody.
that.
If we're gonna get goals and objectives followed through, everybody's gonna have to do it.
Mhm.
And so this speaks to me, to everybody, that if the foreman on a job is gonna have to give authority and responsibility, and that person that receives it knows that they're gonna have to work with respect, excellence, and they're gonna be accountable for that empowerment. And that can go all the way down to the part-time person in the office. Again, this is a plan, it's a street plan for everybody involved, because everybody's gonna have to contribute to get through these goals and objectives. And back to Leanne's, that's why I like the principles and values sitting there saying, okay, here's our vision, here's our mission, these are how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it with integrity, respect, and excellence, and these are our goals and how we're gonna do that. And everybody needs to do it. Everybody has to be on board. We want everybody on board, because it's not gonna get done if it isn't. I don't know if we have to.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be a larger thing so everybody can grasp it, that everybody can feel like this is what they're doing.
Well, I was looking at Leanne for wordsmithing, not for her to dismiss the whole thing, but.
And then let me say, based on what Ryan just said, maybe we need to say principles and values we will follow in accomplishing our mission. You know, it just sits there like, I don't understand why it's there. Maybe that would tie it in a little bit more, say why we have it there.
And I was thinking maybe the use of authority and responsibility, or you should be accountable in your use. And everybody's given some authority and responsibility, department heads, employees, whatever. And they should be accountable in their use, of authority and responsibility. Yeah, I just, the way it was, the only problem I had was the way it was. I don't have the answer, unfortunately. I just bring problems. You will be accountable for your use of authority and responsibility. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Of course, the word is empowerment, and so you got to give something to empower them. So the word give has to be, should be in there somewhere. But. Well, that was my thing, and I guess if...
I'm okay with it the way it is.
Okay, yeah. Another one that the sword isn't.
Although,
And then,
if you didn't mind changing the caption there, so we explained what we did, that would be nice, but we don't have to.
I might have been up and going to get Bob at this time, but I thought objective 5, I missed this. I think it's fine if you want to leave it in there, but I'm going to use that exact wording for a work plan. Because that is not a because up above, this is about visionary, long-term planning, county growth. Well, we're going to investigate means, yeah. Well, I did get up and go see Bob for a little bit and get that emergency management stuff, but that's fine. It's just, it's perfect for a work plan. I'm going to use, you know, as we go to work plans, that goes right in there. I didn't know if it belonged in a strategic plan and a visionary long-term. To me, you know, the lines get very blurry between strategic and work plans. And I read some of the stuff that you handed out the other day, the charrette, and it gets blurry. Yeah, so I just saw it and thought, well, there's a perfect description for the work plan, and I didn't know if you wanted it in there.
I think an objective we need to have in there is something with the statement concerning 4-H. So there's a understanding that we need to work towards a long-term range plan and report for 4-H. And if that includes 5 different things, it might be just facilities, it might be programming, it might be organizational down the road, but we find out who's responsible for that, you know, who's going to work on that stuff. So and we are kind of, you know, but it's not going anywhere fast. But maybe if we just stopped at that concerning 4-H, put a long-range plan.
I'm turning this back over to you, Ryan. It's your strategic plan, and I did, and I was happy with 99% of it. Was just a couple items, and you guys asked if we saw anything, and so I saw a couple things I sent.
That's in goal 4? Where are we looking at?
Objective 5.
Objective
Goal 4,
4.
objective
Okay.
5.
I saw 2 things. In objective 2, under goal 3, where we're talking about the analyze and provide a report to the county commissioners concerning the potential for a local or regional detention center. I just think we need to change the wording, because none of our other things are we saying provide something to the county commissioners, because we're the ones doing this. So I think we need to analyze and prepare a report concerning the potential for a local or regional center. So it matches up with how we're doing other things.
Okay.
And then in goal number 5, every goal needs to have some objectives, or how do you know if you achieve that? So we need to, I think we need some objectives under our goal number 5.
Well, one of the things is I think out of some of the discussion we had is we need to look at redoing the website.
Mhm.
So objective 1 would be time to redo the website.
Yep.
And also part of it is to allow that website to be able to be downloaded on handhelds, text alerts, and get that social media aspect more user-friendly. So if you want to put an objective down there, I mean, that almost gets into the work plan, but,
We
you
need
know,
objectives for a
Well,
objective, we want a new website.
just looking at it now and her bringing it up, but almost isn't that part of goal 6, objective 1? All this is communicating with our citizens, and maybe we got too many goals and we should have another, just take an objective or something. Just
Make goal 5 an objective under goal 6.
that would work.
And then under that objective could be if you wanted to put a room number 1 new website, but that's more in the work plan than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can make that change.
Sounds good.
Anything else that stood out to any of you as we're looking through it?
Take 2 of them. Sorry. Yeah, fine, so.
right.
Okay.
That's it.
Just let me go back to Are we in? There we go. Let me make sure here. No, just a couple things for me this week. Tomorrow, I'm going to be out in the afternoon. I have parent-teacher conferences tomorrow for my kids. And then late Thursday, I'll be out because Julia, my daughter, is in the South Dakota Elementary Honors Choir performing up at SDSU Thursday afternoon. So I will be going up to watch her perform with that. So, but otherwise, that's all I have, unless you have any other questions of me.
I'm sure your students will do fine. I hope you survive parent conference. Okay. Deputy State Attorney report.
Just a couple items. Stacy, you mentioned the report for Novita. Has anyone heard from them whether we've gotten the written notice to proceed? Because that deadline is March 2nd, and I have not received anything.
Mm-hmm. I have, my last communication is I want to be the second one to know after their wives. And they haven't called me. Mm.
Is that something the board would like me to follow up on with Rick, or was someone else planning to make that contact?
I could follow. That's a good point, and I think we should. I'll remind him of the March
2nd. Then, as the sheriff alluded to earlier, just to make the commissioners aware, our involuntary mental health commitment procedure, as Commissioner Pierce well knows, is a complicated process. And last week we had one, if not multiple calls every single day on people wanting to explore that option, which is high. That has not happened since I've been here, that it's been that frequent. But something I've like to start implementing, and we've done a few, but biannual or quarterly meetings with the different agencies involved. It's the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, ECBH, the hospital, our chairperson. Just there are many working factors in this process, and even if we can answer a few questions or remain on the same page on the process, it makes it go much smoother for those involved. So that's something I'm working towards, and I think all the agencies are on board to do that. I went to Pier last week. As I mentioned, I'm the chair of the legislative committee for the South Dakota States Attorneys Association, and our focus was really on criminal law changes. And so we work pretty actively on those, but certainly if there is something that I see that is an issue for the county that we aren't already watching, I will make everyone aware. The big juvenile justice initiative is something that we're really waiting to see how that plays out and what the appropriations turn out to be, because that will certainly have an impact on the county budget. And finally, just that I'm working as diligently as possible on the 34th Avenue project, working hand in hand with Banner and with Dakota Abstract on the title work. And again, I have to thank Commissioner Pierce, who took some time out to review the documentation with me, and that was greatly appreciated. We have found some additional steps that need to be taken. So we are still at the point where we are working through correct title work, making sure our plans are correct in terms of owners and exact legal descriptions and things of that nature. So we're working as efficiently as possible, but it will be a little while yet before the purchase paperwork is available for the landowners to sign. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions. I am waiting on updated title work, again, from Dakota Abstract, that won't be completed until the end of this week. So at least the end of this week, and then depending on what those results show, there may be additional time beyond that. And I guess just to explain, there is significant paperwork and steps that have to go into each property transaction, and we have 10 transactions that will be taking place. So it's not just one document that everyone signs. It is a significant amount of work. And I'm going as fast as I can.
My sigh had nothing to do with you or the quality or timeliness of your work.
Okay. Thank you, Abby. All right. Commissioner reports. We'll just go down the row. Leanne?
Forgot about the commissioner report, to be honest.
It's okay. Well, you were at the, huh? Okay,
Great, thank you.
he's ready.
Come back to me later.
I got that on there. Basically, yesterday, we did a little strategic planning. Everybody was there, which was good. I had a hospital board meeting on January 29th. And so it was kind of a shorter one. They're getting shorter there. We've got some pretty good people running the show there, and they get their information in and out, and it's been very good. Numbers have come back very, very good this year for the health system. They have a lot of different entities and different things, but overall, their system has done very well this year, and they're up. Their surgeries are at a record pace. They're doing a great job with that. And this new expansion will really do a good job, I think, to allow continued growth in the surgeries and that kind of stuff, to be able to keep our county residents and our city residents in Brookings when they're having surgeries and stuff, rather than shoving them down south. So they're definitely doing a good job of that, and it shows at the end of the year here in their numbers. And this was the first year that they had worked with the clinic, Avera Clinic, and they've joined that, and that's a new series for them and things they're getting used to and working the details out on that. But overall, a very, very good year for the Brookings Health System as far as numbers are concerned. Patients, quality, I mean, their rankings and their numbers coming in on quality has been fantastic, way over their peers. And so they're really working hard at that, and Jason and his staff are doing a fantastic job. Also, it takes the whole system to do quality work, and the employees are doing a great job. Everybody's buying into it, and it's amazing the government and the regulation and all that kind of stuff that goes on for our health system. It's absolutely mind-boggling, and to try, sometimes it stifles what your ability to do is, but there was a very good, positive meeting that we had, and so just an update there on the health system. That was a very good year for them. Commissioner Wyseth covered for me on the 911 meeting. I was on my way back from Pier, so he covered that for me. But after that, that was all I had the last 2 weeks. So,
Ryan? We'll just
On January 29th, I went to a domestic abuse meeting where we did additional planning for their big moneymaker that they plan every year, the Walk a Mile, and that's going to be in May. And otherwise, it's pretty much business as usual for them. I was at the strategic planning meeting yesterday. Other than that, I have a brand new grandson in Fort Pierre. He's a whopping 6-pound, 2-ouncer. And while I was there, my granddaughter gave me influenza A, so it was lucky I didn't have any other meetings. So I'm still trying to recover from that. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I guess January 28th, I attended a beta meeting. Beta is continuing to, I guess, expand. They have an opportunity through the state called a rideshare program, and there's also a V-Ride program. Basically, this rideshare program would be if there's a number of employees that would say live in DeSmet that worked in Brookings, the state would actually have a van for them. They'd have a qualified driver. It'd be run through Beta. They do the paperwork. Beta would actually get the ride count dollars towards them. They were going down to Mitchell. It's to see how they're actually doing it right now. Same thing with V-Ride. Some of the larger companies they were going to approach, like Bell Brands, Larson's, Daktronics, SRAM, SDSU, if there's a group of people that would want to participate in this program. I guess another thing that was brought up, they're future vision for Beta. They had made some goals in the last 2-3 years. One of them is to be at an alternate location by 2016. They are currently looking for property to do this. I had Stacy, I believe she gave you the agreement that was made.
No, I just gave that to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A copy of, is in 2004, actually 10 years ago, that the agreement was made between the county and Beta, the state, on the property out at the highway department, the building. And just keep in mind, if it down the road, that if they're able to financially move forward, this building, in these agreements here, would have to be either purchased by us or handled by us. So, I guess Beta is having a capital campaign to raise some money for some matching funds for some new buses and vans here in Brookings. They have taken actually two of the buses out of service the last 6 months, so got a little need there. They're also hosting a fundraiser. It'll be, they're selling 100 tickets at $100 each. The winner would get, $5,000, and the balance would go towards Beta. They're actually having a gathering on St. Patrick's Day. And like I said, if they want tickets, contact Brenda. The other thing, I have received a few phone calls, a couple emails, public concern on that bridge posting south of White on County Road 25. I believe I talked to Dick a little bit about it. A lot of the people not realizing what the bridge posting meant. Basically, it's almost like if you have a semi, you're not hauling loads over that bridge. Just keep in mind that Ag First, one of our bigger agricultural businesses here, this road connects Toronto, White, and Aurora. And also there's numerous contractors that haul gravel on this road. And also, the county uses this road extensively too. Maybe here we could, Dick could look into some possibilities, and we can explore hopefully doing something with that bridge beyond the program. I told, if we get this bridge into the program, which it does not qualify right now, it's still at 62% sufficiency. It could be 15, 20 years down the road before this bridge be replaced. And just keep in mind, that's one of the major roads in the highway department.
Quick question. What are we looking at, size of that bridge, and a replacement or a fix? What are we
It's
looking
about 53 feet.
Okay.
53 feet, yeah.
Okay, so what do we, I remember the foot cost or something like that. Were we looking at replacing it or reinforcing it to be able to take this limit off? I know it's a Band-Aid, or what are there some options?
It doesn't, I don't think it's low enough to be scheduled on because it's sufficiency number. However, this structure on 25 from 2 years prior, the last inspection showed unbelievable accelerated deterioration underneath and cracking in the deck. And they determined, or kind of have the opinion, that the number one thing that would help prolong the life of the bridge would be to reduce the loads going across it. This would probably be one that, if, I don't think you would get to a point where it'd be like in Baltic where the bridge collapsed, but it certainly would be one when we start to prioritize and schedule projects using our own funds, especially if we get additional funds, that I would have to think that traffic patterns and traffic flow would be a pretty significant factor in what ones we'd replace. In other words, there's probably some clear up and nowheres that really go nowheres that are scheduled with that whole list of ones below and above 20 feet, that when stuff like this comes up, we might have to fudge a little bit and try to get it addressed sooner. I don't know, I never asked them what they would recommend as far as restoration or what possible remediation could be done to get it back to a legal limit. It was just the idea that till we see what we want to do, it's got to be reduced.
What would be a cost to replace that?
Well, at 53 feet, I would say, I think the one this out there by the gun range is 53 or 63, and that's going to be about $447,000.
I guess we could take the load limits off, and then it wouldn't be so good on this inspection, then it would move up the priority. I guess well, yeah, I guess our priority, but that's a big bill.
No.
You know, when you prioritize these, you know, you bring up ag first, and the use has to be one of the many things you factor in, and the importance for the economic vitality of the community or county. So, where do you want to go with this? Do you want Dick to?
I guess I'd like, if Dick would be possible, to just explore some options of what, you know, replacement, if you know, do the sheeting and a new Balti deck or something. Just, you don't get any bids on the decking for the Balti decks, but I mean, just explore some options and see what it would actually, and you have to have an engineer to design it too, but I mean, bring it back.
Or did you have anything else?
No, that's all.
Well, I have a follow-up question. Every day you do this job, you learn something. Repeat my bad hearing. If they find another location, we've got an obligation according to that agreement to put up a building for them. Did I hear that right?
No.
Oh,
No,
thank goodness.
No.
I heard it wrong.
The building that is there, I'll get all of you this, but the building that is there, it basically, county owns the property.
Where it's at now, yeah.
Correct. And basically in the agreement, if I understand it correctly, the only person that could actually own that building would be the county, would have to purchase it from them at a fair market value.
Okay. Who owns the building that sits on this county property right now? Who owns that building?
State. Beta. State.
Okay. And they leave. What if we don't want to buy a building?
It's stated in here.
No,
We'd have
we're
to be the
buying it.
governing
And now, so
agent.
we have to prepare financially for this. I wonder what ballpark, what are we talking here we got to prepare for?
I cannot remember the years. It was 5, 6 years ago. I believe. You were, it was just before. You were
Yeah,
on.
they went through all that.
The state actually came out and made an offer to the county, that building for $350,000. The county offered them $180,000 at that time. It came down to the market value. Well, what is that building market value where it sits in the middle of the county property compared to if this building was sitting out in the public on its own property? That's where this
Okay, so, but the long and short of it, we need to be planning for that purchase. I mean, they're working towards getting out of there, so.
And Brenda's very appreciative of what we have done. Beta would not be where it is if not for Brookings County helping with facilitating their needs and everything out there.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. Yeah, Leanne.
And I have my report.
Yeah.
On January 29th, I had my first meeting with the Swiftel Advisory Committee, and we had a tour of the facility. I have to tell you, the energy was high. Everybody was excited about the Brad Paisley concert coming up, and that was a good meeting. Eventually, they'd like to have some more conversation with us regarding the Resource Center. So we'll get to that when we get to that. On January 30th, we had a meeting, the Brookings County Zoning Board, we had a meeting for our comp plan, and First District was there, led us through all of the conditional uses in our current ordinances. We came up with some ideas on how we want to make some changes. Eventually, you'll be seeing all of that, but we're working through those ordinances just one step at a time, and it was a really good meeting. On February 3rd, we had our regular planning and zoning meeting that evening. And then on February 5th, I went to my first governmental affairs meeting with the Chamber of Commerce. We discussed legislation. It was all about what's going on. Some interesting conversation about Senate Bill 1, which we've all already talked about on highway and bridges, and some of the other things that weren't specifically related to the county. On February 5th, I sit on the City Planning Committee, and the City Planning Committee invited Bob and Jeff Robbins, who is the chair of the Planning and Zoning Board, and Kimberly. They all came, and we had our meeting to talk about joint jurisdiction, and with each entity, each governmental entity working on their comprehensive plans, what changes we would like to see happen in the joint jurisdiction area. And I don't know what Bob thought, but I thought the meeting went really well. And there are a lot of exciting ideas out there for some things that we could do in that joint jurisdiction area that would enhance economic development and housing opportunities in Brookings County and still protect our agricultural land that's further out in the county. And you'll be seeing all of that eventually, but that was really interesting. Then on Sunday, I met with Abby, and we were working on the 34th Avenue project. And I think that is my report. I still haven't heard anything from JDC. I have called them and asked when their next meeting was, talked to the director. He said he doesn't know. And there's some other person that sets it up. And I haven't had any contact with that fella. He's with the city of Sioux Falls. Have you heard anything from them, Stacy?
I have not. Usually, I think we would receive information from Ken McFarland. He's the county commission assistant for Minnehaha County. I could get you his email address. I could send that to you.
That would be great, because
Yep.
I'm just worried I'll miss a meeting not knowing
Right,
that it's going
I'll
to happen.
email that to you.
So, but the stuff with the comprehensive plan is moving forward, and like I said, it's pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to when you all get to see it.
Well, I'm glad that this joint jurisdiction thing, because when they had the Knight deal, it was obvious that we have holes, and and now I feel better about taking your spot on the drainage thing, because between joint jurisdiction, comp plan, and planning zone, you do have your hands full of some important items for the county, and so thanks, and I'm looking forward to. I attended for half the meeting from 10 to noon, and that was 2 hours of rehash of the previous meeting, which was still beneficial. But the question, there was Bob or Leanne, you can answer this, and it seemed like my question was, when is the commission going to start seeing materials? And Bob or somebody said after your last, well, Bob, when will the commission start to see what's starting to bubble up, so that?
We think it's going to be probably the first part of April.
And that will,
We've
okay.
got two more subcommittee meetings coming up, and because what they're doing, they're taking it in chunks. First district is to give to the planning board. Then we've got to assemble everything together, and then we got we had a series of public meetings last year, and now once we give the county commission the whole plan, we have to have a new set of meetings.
Okay, and that'd be even before the planning and zoning board acts on their approving the comprehensive
Well, it'll
plan.
probably be all at the same time, more than likely.
Oh.
We have to see how first district wants to do it.
Okay, well, so that
Because we've
was
had,
what-
the county planning commission has had a lot of meetings, so I guess it's just gonna depend upon how First District wants to present it to us. If,
I
since
just didn't-
since the county development or county planning commission's doing the ordinance, it's just gonna depend on how First District wants to do it on the true public hearings is gonna come down to the county commission level.
Yeah. You know, obviously, the commissioners haven't attended all these meetings that you've had, and I just didn't want it to get so far away that it was hard for a commissioner that had a concern to be able to present it to them, and that what's been worked on. And
It-
so,
It's my understanding that nothing will come to the commission until we have a complete written document, and that the planning and zoning have made any changes they want, then a document will come so that you get everything at once instead of in bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Am I
And-
understanding that right?
That is correct, and we will hear the plan before the planning commission also. But quote unquote, the true official public hearings, the big blown up things are not, we're gonna have our regular scheduled planning commission meetings, and we'll approve the document to send it to the county commission. And then we'll have to have some of the full-blown public hearings. Which
All right.
maybe have to be a different date than your regular scheduled meeting here, but we'll have to depends on what comes out of the meeting and how much controversy is in the plan.
okay, thank you. You have any questions as commissioners and process? You're fine, okay? Well, let's see. On the, where did I do it? Well, one thing on the, Ryan and I are still communicating about the road project, and the last email from Scott, just the railroad permit will be issued once a contractor is selected, and a certificate of insurance is issued to the railroad. He tried contacting the railroad today about the precast concrete crossing and left a message. The last conversation with them was 2 weeks ago, and they said they would work on the agreement. And he's talking to Susan Tracy about the crossing signals. They have in plan a graded pad for the control building, so they have a place in design to put this control. Everything else for the signals is on her end, and that would be the grant. And so we're going to have to continue to monitor that item, okay? On the 28th, I went to a pipeline meeting, and I got a certificate suitable for framing, and this would go with my 2 other classes that Bob had me go through and took the test. And as my finished my last hand-to-hand combat training, the guy said, "You just learned enough to hurt yourself." So what I did learn is that I have a lot to learn, and that the best thing for a commissioner is to have knowledge and stay out of the way of the professionals. And but you do get a nice certificate. Attended the comp plan meeting. I happen to live. You were also there, Stephanie. The Sioux Valley. Is River Ridge in that district? Are you Sioux Valley customers? Yeah. Well, that happened to be my district had their Sioux Valley meeting. While I was there, well, I couldn't stay, so I missed the meal and I missed the. It wouldn't look good, and it got hungry, but I was supposed to eat with somebody, and they missed their meeting following. But what I was there for was to hunt down Ted Smith or anybody else from Sioux Valley to thank them for their cooperation in preparation of an agreement coming, and that we have finally have some acceptance. And Ted was there, Michelle and Jim weren't there, and Tim McCarthy was there, and I thanked him that his staff has been great to work with, and thanked him for the agreement that we're going to have. And then also I met my district representative, who just has a farm north of mine, and that never knew him, and so thanked him. So they're aware of our appreciation of the work, the agreement that they are coming with us. So, and then the 911 meeting, and they talked about the next generation, which I have a lot. This past generation, I have trouble figuring out the next generation with the telecommunication services contract with the state in the last 5 years. for the next 5 years, and actually you just sit there and listen to the pros that know what they're talking about. And the university showed up this time, and they have a 1-1 system, and they're planning on kind of getting away from that. And so it was good that they were there because students have cell phones. They don't pay attention at that freshman orientation that they're supposed to do 1-1-1. If there's an emergency, they're going to do 9-1-1. So it was good to have them there. And they talked about the 3rd dispatch station in our physical location. The process of those meetings has, and this is my 2nd year, and is Jeff Weldon really counts the dimes. And Jeff Miller is the bookkeeper, and Jeff really is the bookkeeper, not the bookkeeper, but the analyst, financial analyst of it. And quite frankly, as a county commissioner, I feel, other than chairing the meeting, not full of information. And so that's the way the 911 goes. Ryan, your day's coming. So that's it on my report, and I would like to have a brief executive session under South Dakota Code Law 1-25-2 for item number 3, dealing with contracts. And moved and seconded. Roll call.
Krogman.
Aye.
Miller. Jensen.
Aye.
Pierce. Wyseth.
Aye, and no action will be taken, okay?